So, John, last time we covered the top 50 games of all time, and we went from 50 to 26, showed off a lot of games, all of them great, all of them very much worthy of just that kind of accolades, that kind of just reputation that people still love them to this day, whether it's newer games, whether it's older games. I think we had a nice mix as far as our first part of this grand finale for our top, best games of all time list that we're doing here. How are you feeling going into our actual big finale? Like, this is it. This is a year's worth of work leading up to.
Scared. It's been a lot of work, a lot of building up. But we also had some games in the last 25, which I would consider a personal top 10. So if you've not watched that part, don't discount it. There's some brilliant games in there. And at the end of the day, this is really a list of games that you just must play before you leave planet Earth. So, yeah, play away. But I have no idea what to expect. I have no formed top 10 about what could be there, other than the one game that Ash let slip. Because Derrick was saying to the GVG crew, "Oh, can you guys record your segments for when the top 10, or when the top 25 games come up?" And Ash said something like, "Oh yeah, I love Xenoblade 3."
So it pops up
I know
somewhere
Xenoblade
in
3's
here.
in there.
So that's what it is. And that should also be mentioned, is that we're going extra special, is that you've heard us talk for a long time about all these games. I wanted to make sure we get some other opinions in there, especially for games that maybe we don't have as much to say about, just in case. I didn't know what it was going to be. I just took whatever the top 25 was, reached out to a bunch of different YouTube friends and stream friends, and let them pick from that list, and they all chose without knowing where it is. So it's not like our guests aren't based on popularity of getting which game. It's just what the guest picked first, and that's where it is. So yeah, we're going to have little cutaways to each of our guests talking about them. So be sure to check out their stuff. If you enjoyed their segments, we'll have little attributes there so you can see what they're all about and go see more. You'll be familiar with some. Maybe some others will be brand new to you. So we will find that out. In the meantime, let's say we get started, John.
Let's do it. And just like last time, I'm going to be guessing through a list of 500 games, but Derrick's going to give me a letter to narrow it down. Yes.
So we didn't figure that out the first time right away at first, but we got the system down now. So all the more reason to check out that part 1 of 50 through 26. Speaking of, 26 was Bloodborne with 2,200 points. So, John, what beat out Bloodborne for number 25 by 64 points?
And what are we starting with here?
We are starting with the letter D.
Letter D. Oh, not many things beat Bloodborne in my opinion. So we got all the Donkey Kongs, we got Dragon Quest, we got Doom, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. There's a lot of good things in there. Well, Deltarune's in there too, which has some good potential. So is Daytona USA, which I think, and so is Dark Souls. I'm gonna go with Deltarune.
Going with Deltarune. At number 25, Deltarune chapters 1 through 4.
It took me so long to get one. Like, narrowing it down to the letter last time took ages. But we got one again. Man,
we got one.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I think Undertale's probably lurking around these corners somewhere as well.
But before we give our full thoughts, we do have our special guest to explain why Deltarune deserves to be considered one of the best of all time.
I don't think it's hyperbole to suggest that Deltarune is one of the most popular indie games coming out today, just as it was last year in 2024, and in 2022, and in 2018 when the game originally came out. Because this is an episodic RPG from Toby Fox, the man who created Undertale. And just like that game, Deltarune delivers on everything that made that original game so fantastic. It has an amazing soundtrack with earworms that are not going to be leaving your head anytime soon. Incredibly funny characters with so much depth to them that lots of people have had had so many theories about where the episodes are going from this point onwards. And of course, it retains the bullet hell gameplay where you play as a little heart dodging a whole bunch of projectiles, but now it has 3 people in the party as opposed to the original game's 1, making the dynamics of gameplay a little more interesting, as now you have to navigate multiple health bars and consider how you build up abilities and when to spend your points, your TP points, in order to get the most optimization for the battles. It's a really solid game, but again, I think what makes it so enduring and what makes it last the test of time is the story and the characters and the fact that audiences who play these games just get so heavily attached to everything that's going on. I don't think it's any exaggeration to suggest that if this game had come out 20 years ago on the Super Nintendo, it would be just as popular as Chrono Trigger. It would be just as popular as Final Fantasy VI. And Deltarune is a great example of how you don't need the most cutting-edge graphics. This game looks like it was made 20 years ago. The soundtrack borrows elements from lots of games from yesteryear. Sometimes it can sound like Mega Man X. Sometimes it can sound like an old Power Rangers beat-em-up game. It is a game that feels retro, but also because of the subject matter and because of the thoughtfulness of the characters and what they're doing in the game, it still has a modern feel to it, and it still connects with audiences the way that most games don't ever have the chance to. It is an incredible experience. It's something I'm always thinking about. I still am excited for episodes 5, 6, and 7, and I think when it all is said and done, when all of the episodes are out fully, I think it's going to be a better game than Undertale. I think it will be better received. I think it will be hailed as one of the greatest RPGs from an indie developer. So it's no surprise why this title ended up in the top 25 games of all time. Toby Fox just understands video games. His passion comes out in every single pixel of this project. And it's something that's just going to be enduring the test of time. I think it's a brilliant game. I think it's something that everybody needs to check out. It's not just a quirky, little hipsters will enjoy this. No, everybody should play this. This is a game that the whole family can play. It's not just for teenagers. It's not just for adults. If you play this with your family, you can get a great understanding of what makes video games so damn special. And just because of that, I absolutely recommend Deltarune. Everyone should check this out.
So, John, what's your experience with Deltarune so far? Have you played each of the chapters yet?
No. I've played the first chapter, but I have not revisited. I'm probably this isn't the way to go, probably, but I'm waiting until it's fully done to just experience it all in one big gulp. Because the first chapter I really enjoyed, and I could just stick along with community and play as they're all released. But no, I want to play it as just one big game, just binge it all at the end. And I'm happy to wait.
I would probably do the same thing. Well, I got a taste of like chapter 1, and chapter 2 was already out by the point. And, first 2 chapters were free at the beginning, which is, just a really cool way to get things started with how Toby Fox handled it. But now you do have to pay to get chapters 3 and 4, which are out now. And I've played up to the end of chapter 3. I would have waited like you, but I was very, very much insistent from my personal stream audience that they really wanted to see me play Deltarune. And I get it, because seeing it evolve for each chapter, seeing how they change things from chapter to chapter, seeing the storyline progress, it's like television in a lot of ways. It's a lot of theories of people like, what from the information we have in this chapter, what does this mean? And I think you might lose that. It's the binge effect where you lose that from week to week TV, where you're not debating about what's happening. It's just, let's get to the next section. And even beyond that, I think it will still work as a cohesive whole, especially as time goes on, where it feels more segmented at first, but then as the chapters go on, it feels like it's becoming more and more cohesive as an overall story, rather than just, here's this chapter where our adventure is this, and here's this chapter where adventure is this. It changes it up, and I think that helps a lot in making it unique and fun, and I am very curious where it's all going to go by the time we get to, I think, the planned 7 chapters. Which, it's funny to think this game isn't finished yet, but it also feels finished with each chapter feels so complete.
Yeah. I mean, just playing that first chapter a bit, I could feel how good it was. Toby Fox has this brilliant style where he makes basically RPG combat very interactive in a way that the genre doesn't always feel. And it feels like your choices actually do matter in a way. Like it can really alter the course of the game. It's easy to see why Undertale got so big. Because everyone had their own experience, everyone loved all the characters in there, and you can go through and play in different ways. And Deltarune's just kind of more of that. Yeah, I can't speak too much about Deltarune. I'll come back on Undertale, which I believe is here, because if Deltarune is, I can't see Undertale not making it.
Yeah. Deltarune at number 25. So, let's move on to number 24, which beat Deltarune by 5 points.
God, okay.
Told you a lot of these are by single votes, but number 24 starts with the letter F.
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 So, all the Final Fantasies, I think the only F-Zero we had was AX, the arcade machine.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all the Fire Emblems. So I think that's mostly what it's between, is Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy. We have other games in there. All the Forza Horizons are there, or 3, 4, and 5 are. Frogger's there, which would be cool. But I'm going to go with... We haven't had a Final Fantasy on the list yet, have we?
We have not.
That's quite difficult, because we have 9, 6, and 7, as well as both 7 remakes and 10 and 14. I'll go with Final Fantasy 9.
All right. At number 24, Final Fantasy 7.
Oh, that's quite surprising. It depends what else is here, I suppose, but that is surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little different. But again, before we give our thoughts, we have our next special guest to explain why Final Fantasy VII deserves to be considered one of the best of all time.
In Final Fantasy VII, the world is a dying animal, slowly being drained like a juice box by ravenous corporate interests. Shinra abuses and destroys the poor for profit and indoctrinates regular human beings into soulless corporate drones that defend the very oppression that is killing them. The natural environment is withering, entire countries are conquered in the name of resource extraction, and children grow up dreaming of becoming soldiers that fight for the military-industrial complex because that is what the cultural idea of a hero has become in their age of propagandized media. Even with the wonky translation and the slightly silly-looking puppet characters, has there ever been a video game whose themes and ideas have remained so painfully relevant and so painfully current for such a painfully long time as Final Fantasy VII? I genuinely don't think so. It is a game that has something on its mind, something it wants to say. It takes a hard stance against corporate power, a hard stance in favor of environmentalism, and it grapples with surprisingly heartfelt themes of identity in the middle of all of that. Poor Cloud Strife got sucked into joining the corporate private army because he thought that's how you become a big tough man, and his journey is one of coming to accept himself, not as a big cool hero or a special forces super badass, but just a person with flaws whose duty is to do what he can to make the world a better place, even despite the apocalypse looming over his shoulder. Underneath all the RPG outlandishness, the problems that Final Fantasy VII grapples with are problems that are real and have only ever become more real in the nearly 3 decades since the game first told its story. Playing the game today feels almost like playing some kind of retro indie game that was released just last year, because that's how vital its themes still feel. Sephiroth and the One-Winged Angel theme and the death of Aerith and the motorcycle escape sequence and the elaborate summon sequences and the limit breaks and the Buster Sword, all of these things make Final Fantasy VII a great game, but it is the fact that all of that cool stuff is in service to a story that has the courage of its convictions and the spine to stand for something, whether you agree with its politics or not. That is what makes it the greatest game of all time.
So yeah, Final Fantasy VII at number 24. This feels like it could be top 10 material at all times, because it is the RPG, right?
Yeah. If you look at modern RPGs, most of them are not designed like they used to be. When you go from Super Nintendo to PlayStation and then PlayStation 2 and 360, you start to lose elements of what made the Super Nintendo RPGs what they are. Like, it's very rare you're globe-trotting, going from town to town, having all these different towns and all these different environments and bosses. A lot of RPGs lost that. But FF7 basically took the Super Nintendo formula and made it bigger with more varied towns and locations with those beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds. You got those cutscenes, a lot of music, a lot of mini games. It was just like a super pumped Super Nintendo RPG. And it didn't compromise itself in any way. It was shocking. It caused conversations to go on for years and years after. and it could only be remade by making 3 other games rather than just one. That's how big it was. And it managed to condense all of that into such a brilliantly paced game. I think it's one of the best of all time.
I mean, this was my first RPG. This is what got me into the genre. And to see storytelling combined with gaming like that blew my mind at the time, because I was a voracious reader as a kid. So when a friend was like, here, check this game out, and I'm like, wait, games can have story? Like beyond like the Saturday morning fare, to have like what it was going, but it was funny, it was weird, it was different. You just get lost in that world and those characters. And there's, it's no surprise that every single one of them is absolutely beloved to this day. Like, it is the JRPG. It is what broke things into the market. It is what has made it it's what made the PlayStation 1 the dominant RPG platform.
Yeah. Like,
there was a lot of RPGs on the PS1 before Final Fantasy 7, but this is what sort of put a stamp on it. It's like, no, this is an RPG this is what you get on the PS1. And developers and players just flocked to it. Understandably. Like, it made, like, I saw that Squaresoft label, I was picking that game up. I didn't care what it was.
It was also in Europe like one of the first RPGs we ever got.
True.
So we didn't get any other Final Fantasy prior to 7, at least the core mainline ones. And so 7 it defined to everybody what an RPG was. And on the face of it, it's basically FF6 again in terms of its fundamentals. It's the same active time combat. But it's the setting and the characters and the scope which just go way beyond. And every single party member gets their time to shine as well. There's always a moment where it's like, this is Barrett's story, this is Tifa's story, this is Yuffie's segment. And it gets you to respect each and every one of them, regardless of whether you use them in your party.
The fact that they have those segments even for the characters that you could easily miss, and Vincent and Yuffie.
I was about to say that, but both Yuffie and Vincent, you don't have to get. They're completely optional. Like, Yuffie you get just by finding her in a forest as like a random chance.
And they have to answer the right responses to get her, but yeah.
You've either got to stumble into her or know that she's there, otherwise you'll miss her completely. And it's such a risky thing, because there's combat scenarios or story elements that have them in, but if they're not in your party, you just never hear from them. There's so much care put into everything. And it really just felt massive. And to this day, it's rare you see a game that has a scope of Final Fantasy VII. Like,
blew my mind when I saw the weapons revealed for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm like, it just felt like a complete shift. But yeah, I mean, it's big, it's bombastic. There's a reason Final Fantasy VII is so beloved. It gets easy to like get into the nitty gritty of why. Like, personally, I prefer 9, but I will never discount 7.
No, it was incredibly special, and hasn't aged today. Like, nope. It's just that combat system won't age. I also quite like how it's almost like a stage play at times, where the characters face the camera quite a lot. It's like you're looking into like when you're in a house, looking like a black void, and the characters are just sort of walking along a stage almost. I really like that vibe.
It's a good vibe. But Final Fantasy VII at number 24. Let's go ahead and move on to our number 23 game of all time, beating out Final Fantasy VII by 41 points.
Okay.
It starts with the letter K. Sorry.
K. All right. So we have Kingdom Hearts, Kirby, Killer Instinct, Kid Icarus Uprising, and Katamari, which... do we have Katamari already?
We have not had Katamari.
Okay. I'm going to say Kid Icarus Uprising at this one.
All right. At number 23, Kingdom Hearts 2.
Okay.
Yep. Kingdom Hearts 2. But yeah, before we give our thoughts, we have another special guest to explain why Kingdom Hearts 2 deserves to be considered one of the best of all time.
Hey everyone, Baberuthless here to talk about not just one of the best action RPG games of all time, but also just one of the best games of all time, Kingdom Hearts 2. And you might not know it looking at my channel, but I am actually a huge RPG fan, and this game is one that I typically recommend to my friends who may not usually like RPGs. The gameplay is simple, but also has a lot of depth to it as well if you really want to get into it. But back in 2006, when this game first came out, the excitement and anticipation for it was absolutely off the charts. Looking back at it now, it's a little bit quaint, but the 4-year gap between 1 and 2's release was absolutely excruciating for a lot of players. And that was something that the opening sequence with Roxas took full advantage of. You know, you had basically people thinking that you could just jump into Sora's adventure straight away, only to basically be playing a character that you didn't recognize in a place that you also may not recognize. And this was a shock to a lot of players because they were basically like, wait, who is Roxas? And where the heck is Sora? And this section also ends in this perfect baton pass from Roxas to Sora in a sequence that is absolutely amazing, and I won't spoil, but is something that has really stuck with me ever since. And funnily enough, actually, my first Kingdom Hearts game was actually not 1, it was Kingdom Hearts 2. So I had the opposite effect happen to me, where I was playing as Roxas, and then suddenly I was playing as Sora, and I was really confused because I felt like Roxas's plotline had just basically ended. And when I actually first started playing this game, I didn't know anything about Kingdom Hearts. Like, really the only thing I knew about it was that there are a bunch of Disney worlds. But when I actually started playing the game and really experiencing for myself, I absolutely fell in love with that home world, with Twilight Town. Just the music, the atmosphere, it was just so cozy and welcoming and just very intimate. The sheer amount of content packed into this disc is absolutely astounding. There's so many new and returning worlds to look at, like from Aladdin, Pirates of the Caribbean, Beauty and the Beast, Tron, and so on. And that's not even mentioning the amazing score by Yoko Shimomura, where she crafts these pieces that almost sound like they come from the Disney movies themselves, but are in fact original to this game. And the plot of the game, well, it is something that is criticized quite often, but I think, to be fair, at this point, it was still fairly simple to follow. Even if you didn't play the Game Boy Advance game Chain of Memories, for plot reasons, in that game, Sora effectively forgets all the people he met and all the places he went to. So your POV in this game is basically the same as his, where you're having new characters shown in that game that are effectively introduced for the first time in Kingdom Hearts 2. This game, without a doubt, deserves to be on the list of top 25 best games of all time. It just brings such a feeling of coziness and also nostalgia, even if you've never played the game before. Twilight Town itself is a very glamorized and also whimsical version of your hometown, where you have all these best friends, and then afterwards you're going around to all these different Disney worlds, seeing characters that you grew up with in this game, which is absolutely amazing. These elements all really just elevate this game to one of the top games of all time for me. And it was such a formative experience for me back in the day, and I'm sure so many other kids growing up in the mid-2000s.
So Kingdom Hearts 2 is definitely considered one of the best, is probably still considered the best of the entire franchise at this point. Like, it just, I think it hits all those notes where the story gets a little bit more involved, but not too complicated. Nowadays, I think it's a little easier to understand. But the combat and the Disney worlds are maybe some of the best in the entire franchise. Mm-hmm. Like, they nail every one of those aspects of it, where it just feels like this epic thing. And for the longest time, Kingdom Hearts 2 was criticized for that opening. But I think there's been enough time and context given to that opening and Roxas himself that people just, it's whatever, It's
the same thing as Metal Gear. People hated Raiden for a while. I think they now just embrace that. Raiden is the star.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, where's Sora? I expected Sora. Where's all that cool stuff I saw in the trailers? Why am I not doing that? But then you get to the end of it, you get this really good emotional arc for Roxas that then pays off even further as you learn what's actually going on as time goes on. And again, wonderful Disney worlds. combat here is, God, going from Kingdom Hearts 1 combat to Kingdom Hearts 2 combat is night and day.
I saw a lot of people guessing what the top 10 will be, and a lot of them had Kingdom Hearts 2 in the top 10. So it's surprising that it's escaped it. I've never been the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan, but I lived through Kingdom Hearts 2 through a friend who was obsessed. He had like multiple save files that were all complete just in a row. He just lived and breathed this game. And I think it's that mix of doing this kind of RPG of the scope in 3D and all the Disney worlds as well, but then just everything else that's going on. And it was embracing Final Fantasy a lot at this point as well. Mm-hmm. Like, there's some really cool mixes in there. I respect it.
Yeah. There's one of the most memorable parts for me was the battle against 1,000 Heartless, and you had all the Final Fantasy characters. Like this is where you got to team up between Squall and Cloud, having a good like fun banter.
Yeah.
As a young Final Fantasy fan, that was awesome. There had those moments there where just it felt big and important. And you just get this absolutely wild finale in terms of scale and what they're doing. Like it just blows your mind what they all pull off. But yeah. Love it to death. It's solidified myself as a Kingdom Hearts fan, and I think well deserved at number 23. Let's continue on and see what beat Kingdom Hearts 2 for the number 22 spot, beating it out by 39 points.
Ooh, okay, what letter?
It begins with the letter M.
M. All right, so we have Metroid, Mother, Minecraft, Missile Command, Monkey Ball, Miss Pac-Man, Muramasa. Okay. I feel like this is a Metroid. Could be Minecraft. But I will go with Metroid Prime.
All right. At number 22, Metroid Prime.
Oh, okay. All right. So
man,
far,
you're doing really well with the top 25, John.
Yeah. Not bad at all.
Not bad. And of course, before we give our thoughts, we have another special guest to explain why Metroid Prime deserves to be considered one of the best of all time.
Metroid Prime. Whether you're looking at the original game on GameCube or Metroid Prime Remastered, which came out recently on Nintendo Switch, bar none, is one of the best games of all time, period. When it first launched in 2002, it flawlessly ushered Metroid into the world of 3D and into the world of first-person shooters. And really, it even opened up the FPS genre to be a little more adventure-centric, to really make good use of puzzle elements. And Nintendo called it, at the time, a first-person adventure game, which is what it is. It has beautiful interactive environments, just amazing sound design. It helps to fully immerse you into the planet Talon 4, where Samus is trapped. No spoilers. Also, the HUD, or the user interface, is so perfectly blended with Samus's visor that it brings the immersion from a 9 to a 10 or a 10.5. Metroid Prime is just like all the way in there with the immersion, without even a lick of spoken dialogue. It has a pretty in-depth, but also really easy to parse storyline. It involves space pirates and like some sketchy phase-on experimentation. And obviously Samus's suit is involved because it's Metroid. The story is sort of unique for a Metroid game, and yet it is 100% a Metroid game, like through and through. If you know what Metroid games are, then that makes sense. If you don't, then you should probably like get with the times here. And speaking of Metroid as a genre, one last thing I want to say is that picking up suit upgrades, which is just part of what Metroid is as a series, picking up those suit upgrades in Metroid Prime is so extremely gratifying. I think it is in every Metroid game, but something about Metroid Prime just, it's so good. So between the amazing environments, the really spectacular gameplay, how well integrated all of the puzzle and adventure elements are into the FPS genre for Metroid Prime, and how it's still like such a quintessential Metroid game, and just like how completely immersive of a game it is, especially if you're lucky enough to experience it on the Nintendo Switch as Metroid Prime Remastered, because that game is stunning, let me tell you. All of those things combined, Metroid Prime is most certainly a prime example of a top-tier game. Anyway, that's my story. That's my shtick. Thanks. Bye.
So do you remember when you first booted up Metroid Prime, John? That first time experiencing the game? Good God.
Yeah. It recaptured everything that Super Metroid did. Like that intro is very evocative of Super Metroid, like going to a space station, having it blow up, running away, Ridley escaping. It's that one-to-one. But doing it all through a new lens is just mind-blowing. Like, you get to fully see Samus's arm cannon, you see through the visor, you see the health like on the HUD. It feels so grounded. But then you land on on Talon 4, and you just get such a melancholy feeling. That there's that bombastic feeling is gone, and now you've just got rain falling down onto your visor, dripping down your arm cannon. It recontextualizes Metroid in such a core way. So you're looking at the sky in Talon 4, rain's dropping down your visor, down your arm cannon, and it's so difficult to do Metroidvanias in 3D. So you look at like Batman Arkham Asylum. That's one of the few. There's so very few that do that. And that's because it's just so challenging. Doing it in 2D, especially as a side-scroller, it's not easy, but it's much easier than just making this full-on world that all tangles together and is easy to navigate. And they do it so effortlessly on their first attempt. And it's still just so timeless today.
Yeah. Remastered proved that. Like, people could go back to it and just see how good it still looked with how they fixed it up. And just each of the biomes and just how they're all connected and just translating everything from a 2D space to a 3D space. And as you said, it's so rare to think of 3D Metroidvanias. Like, I can maybe think of 5 offhand easily.
Yeah. And
that's saying something when it's such a popular genre overall, but doing it in 3D is such a challenge. But I think also just the way they translated Metroid into 3D, as far as like how you control Samus, rather than stacking the beams, choosing them individually. The whole visor mechanic, that was not a thing that you even thought about in the, like Samus's visor and that. But that scan visor, loved it. Addicted to scanning everything I could, and then all the other ways you can view the world. It just so smartly designed.
Yeah. And a lot of Talon 4 is outside as well, which Metroid didn't really do. Super Metroid had a few outside environments, but it was mostly just connecting, most of the indoor parts of Zebus together. This one, though, it felt like a real world, it felt like a real place, because you're so effortlessly weaving back and forth between these full-on outdoor environments and these caves and these labyrinths. And a lot of that's due to it not having really load times at all. You just shoot a door. Sometimes you wait a little bit for the door to open, but it is just such a effortless weave. And it's only really those elevators that really have load times, but it's so infrequent that you use those.
Yeah, it happened on occasion, but it was never that big of a deal. And I mean, I'm not much of a speedrunner, so I always struggle to get any like the best cool stuff in the 2D Metroids. But scanning everything, I can do that to get those special things in Metroid, the Prime games. So I appreciate it from that aspect, where you can sort of maybe still speedrun, but sort of take it slower and still be rewarded for a lot of that.
Yeah.
I think it's easily replayable. Like, it was no issue whatsoever going back to remastered. Kind of made you wish for, 2 and 3 remastered. I don't know if we'll get it, but I'd love to see it.
Probably too late at this point, but it'd be nice.
Even with Prime 4, I feel like it'd still be cool to get 2 and 3.
It would. Something. Yeah. Fast forward to Prime 4 now, and it doesn't seem like it's really changed. Like, it's still Prime 1, just in a new scenario. I think that's just how much they nailed it. They didn't really have to do anything different.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's like, you did nothing. Let's take the core of that idea, change some things around. So, yeah. Metroid Prime at number 22. Let's move on to our number 21 game of all time, beating out Metroid Prime by 55 points.
Okay.
And your clue is that it starts with a P.
A P. All right. Having to remember what we've done already is also part of the difficult process. So we've got Pac-Man, all the Panzer Dragoons, Paper Mario, both the first one and Thousand Year Door, Patapon, Pentiment, a lot of Personas, Phantasy Star, Pikmin. This is difficult, Derek. Pokemon as well. Any Power Stone, Prince of Persia, Psychonauts.
A lot of good
Punch-Out.
P games.
There's a lot of good P games, yeah. God, I think any one of these could be it. I will go with... In terms of Persona, we've had 4. Did we have any other ones appear?
No, only 4 has appeared.
Okay. I will go with Persona 3, the original PS2 version.
All right. At number 21, well, it's an RPG at the very least. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
I was very close to go. I was between Persona and Paper Mario there. Yeah, tough.
It's rough. It's tough. There's a lot of great games. But of course, before we give our thoughts, we have another special guest to explain why Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
I've always hopped back and forth between which game I like more, the original Paper Mario for the N64 or the sequel. And as far as what it has to offer, I feel as though Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door just barely edges it out for me. Entirely different premises, characters, and locations, but I feel that's partly what helps this game to be such a successful sequel. There's been many times where a sequel doesn't live up to the pedigree of its predecessor, nor does it utilize what it established in its first iteration and build upon it. You can see everything from the original Paper Mario right in this title as well. From the structure of exploration of the world to the battle system itself, it takes everything we've come to love from a Mario RPG and excels so brilliantly that people still await a new one to compete with it. Over 20 years later with multiple entries and remakes, that's saying a lot. I've come to learn that some of my favorite Mario adventures are the ones that take place outside of the Mushroom Kingdom. Whether it's the Bean Bean Kingdom or outer space in Mario Galaxy, this requires Nintendo to get creative and rely less on their usual safe ideas. Rogueport is a fantastic hub and one you would never expect in a Mario game. It is run down, filled with crime, there's gambling corners where a mom neglects her family, a mafia syndicate run by piñatas, appearing outside of Sunshine, by the way. You get robbed on the third screen that you visit, Goombella gets hit on and catcalled in the original, not the remake. And of course, the noose being the very center of it all. It's wild because it's not even as big as Toad Town from the first Paper Mario, but there is so much life here. There is an energy in the Rogueport theme that summarizes the vitality of the game and its characters. Through its witty writing, it endures as one of my favorite scripts in any form of media. And the gameplay is something I wish I could see further fleshed out to this day. Similar to Super Mario Bros. 3, the Thousand Year Door contextually turns the focal point of the game into a stage play. You're not just battling, you're putting on a performance. When they cheer, you gain more star power back. An audience member might throw a helpful or hurtful item at you, interrupting your thought process in battle in a fun and seamless way. Stage lights might fall on you, the background could collapse, a boo could emerge from the crowd and make a friend or a foe invisible. So many miscellaneous things could happen, but through it all, it always comes down to the show must go on. This game is not perfect by any means, but what game on this list doesn't have its flaws? It thankfully has a remake that addresses some of its major ones. As a collective whole, it still resonates so much with me today. I love the world, our partners, the timeless art style, its gags and humor, sometimes separated with very heartfelt or genuinely tear-jerking moments that you don't expect coming. It is the whole package for me, and I think it deserves to be acknowledged as one of the greatest games of all time.
So I actually had a hard time getting into Paper Mario the first time I played it, John.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think I got as far as the Glitz Pit. Like everybody was talking about how amazing the first Paper Mario was. I didn't have an N64. Picked up Thousand Year Door. Loved what I played, but then just got kind of burned out at the Glitz Pit section, and never came back to it. And I'm so sad what I missed out on. I eventually did, of course, come back and finish it, but I wish I had done it a little bit sooner because it really was something special. My first Paper Mario that I beat actually was Super Paper Mario, but I still consider Thousand Year Door better.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting series because the first one, it elaborates and explores the Mushroom Kingdom in a cool way. And A Thousand Year Door just takes you sailing away to a new location, a new place, and it's so off kilter. Like the first town you visit has like a gallows in the middle. It's strange and it's weird, and I think that's just so memorable. And like fast forward to 2025, people are saying like Expedition 33 is pushing RPGs in a new direction. Really, it's just doing Paper Mario. It's just it's timing your button presses for parries and defense and attacks. That's what Paper Mario did. So what I'm trying to say is every accolade Expedition gets this year is owed to this series.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds about right. It also, like, the environments you go to are so interesting. Like, it starts out with the typical kind of grasslandish area, then before you get to a castle. But then, like, from that point on, the brakes are off, where you're going to this crazy black and white tree, this haunted town where guys get turned into pigs. You got this train. The trains in Thousand Year Door. Got to mix up some of the later chapters a bit. And just all these different ideas. It feels like the most imaginative Paper Mario.
Yeah. It's also cool what they can do from a tech showcase, because it's not the most technically demanding art style. So they're able to just shove in like 100 sprites into an area, which you see very early on with, when you first meet the Xnauts, they just sort of come riveting in and Mario escapes. But then you get to the tree and you've got those little bug guys and like they're everywhere. It does some really cool stuff with that. And the original Paper Mario takes a while to give you the timing mechanics. So that first hour is actually quite slow. Whereas Thousand Year Door just gives it to you right at the start. And you get some a lot more involved combat moves as well about timing your button presses. It basically innovates and enhances most things about the first game. Not to say it's better in all regards. I still like the first game more in a few respects, but Thousand Year Door is just bigger and more ambitious.
Yeah, and a lot of times your partners in the original Paper Mario can kind of be boiled down to their functions.
Yeah,
and they made sure to add personality to a lot of, like, after you recruit them for a lot of your partners in this game. And the way they give them their own life bar, like there's some smart expansions upon this. There's the whole fact that we have the audience mechanic to go through. Like it's really interesting to see what they changed beyond the original game and how they just sort of evolved it. And to this day, everybody wants to see how they evolve it next.
Yeah,
like it feels like there's ways they can take this even further, but they never did.
It's disappointing that the series never really followed Thousand Year Door, but at the same time, they basically perfected it. Like, I'm sure there's ways you can advance the formula, but they gave it all they could. It felt like. Yeah,
that's true. So yeah, brilliant game. If you haven't checked it out, absolutely do it. Whether it's the original or the remake, both are fantastic. So yeah. Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door at number 21. All right, John, we've reached the top 20. Games are just getting better and better, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though they're all good. Like, we haven't had there's been no duds. Let's be honest.
No, it's about popularity as well. Sometimes the best game of all time is played by a very small amount of people.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd have Valkyria Chronicles on this list. Yeah. We don't. All right. What beat out Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door for the number 20 spot by 29 points?
All right, what's our letter?
Our letter is S. Good luck.
God. Okay, so it's all the Supers, all the Sonics, Silent Hills. Oh my God, this is impossible. We haven't had Shadow of the Colossus, have we?
No, we've not.
Let's put that one out there. I don't want to touch the Supers. It's too many.
All right. At number 20, you should have touched the Supers, John, because it is Super Metroid.
Oh, okay.
Super Metroid at number 20. So, before we give our thoughts, we have another special guest to explain why Super Metroid deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Whenever you're having a conversation about the greatest games of all time, Super Metroid is always somewhere in the conversation. My original experience with it was back in the day when I used to play the first game a lot, and I had a Nintendo Power subscription because of course I did. And I would see pictures of Super Metroid, and it was on the way, and they had the comic, and there was just so much hype about it. And we went to Toys R Us, and they picked it up. We picked up the game, and I remember being eager to play it. I wanted to play it, but then we were out doing errands, so I had to wait. And then when I finally got home, like I was reading the manual on the way out, and when we finally got home, I was able to play it, and I was just blown away by how much of an improvement it was in every way over the Nintendo game. You know, the atmosphere is obviously the word of the day when it comes to Metroid, and the music was there. I mean, you come down onto the planet, and it's you got the storm going, and between that and Link to the Past, apparently showing up in the rain is the way to go when you start a game, and it really was. And then you went down, and it just everything was amazing. I felt like I was underground. I felt like I was fighting for my life, and just a fantastic experience. I got through it, and I don't remember how long it was. I just remember I believe the helmet came off when I beat it the first time, and I wanted to immediately play it again, which I believe I did. And there's an attract mode that shows you some of the things that you can do in the game. And I remember it was after I beat it that I saw some of the tricks that you can do, swinging yourself around on the grapple beam, and most importantly was the crystal flash. I had no idea. I just my little tiny mind was blown. So I figured out how to do that, and I fell in love with the game, and I feel like anybody who plays the game will absolutely fall in love with it if you like those kinds of games. It is a fantastic sequel. It is a fantastic game just on its own. And I have always said that I completely understand why when people talk about the greatest games of all time, Super Metroid always ends in there. It's not only a fantastic game on its own and a great experience, but because it was so much to so many people, it became the influence for so many others. You had just the idea of atmosphere, I think, was instilled in a lot of people to say, this is what I want, and I want it to remind me of when I played Super Metroid. And I'll be honest with you, if you have to pick Super Metroid as the greatest game of all time, that would not be a bad pick, and I don't think anybody would question it.
It's really interesting to go back and evaluate Super Metroid anymore, because it is the OG. It is. Yeah. I think it is the game that just exploded the idea of what Metroidvanias could be. I mean, it began it, and then Symphony and I kind of solidified it. But
yes,
Super Metroid is just regarded as just really is considered one of the best of all time. And back in the day, a lot of times it was like, well, I guess from a critical standpoint, Super Metroid is often just put in the top 10 of all time.
It was often number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how big it was.
It was always a split between Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time and just all these others, like Chrono Trigger, toss them all in there. And it's interesting as time goes on, how those, maybe not opinions shift, but how it changes because of newer games coming out.
Yeah.
And how that sort of has you reevaluate those. And I unbelievably, Super Metroid still holds up rather well, even though it is showing its cracks here and there a bit.
Yeah, compare it to Zero Mission Fusion Dread. The controls are more floaty, but the core design is still so good. This was the first Metroid with a map, which is a huge part of Metroidvania design. You just go around, you map out where you've been, you don't get as lost as much. Yeah, and the first Metroid game, I love it, but it's one where they copy and paste rooms a lot. So you have to really mentally map out where you've been, because you'll get lost very easily. This one, everything's distinct. Every biome is distinct. And there's so much action packed in there. The first game was Ridley, Crater, Mother Brain. This one, you've got like 12, 15 bosses, and they're all really different. They all culminate the area. And the soundtrack is just godly. It accentuates everything. This is a game that doesn't really have faults. We can say that it's floatier than the modern games, and yeah, that can be a fault. But in terms of the core pacing, it's just moment-to-moment greatness. There's not one point of Super Metroid where I'm like, oh, this part again? It's all killer, no filler.
Yeah, every moment is so much fun. As you said, the bosses are memorable, and it has that doesn't necessarily make it a better game, but it makes it stand out from Nintendo's catalog because of its darker tone and the fact that you take out this one boss and this toss him an acid and the skin just melts from his bones. But you still have those Nintendo-like secrets where you, I forget the name of the boss, but you get grabbed by them, and if you can get your grapple beam into the electric field, you can fry him immediately, make it that much quicker and easier. But it's that sense of secrets and experimentation that even back this far, it just nailed and wanted you to try out those different things, see how, like, it's why it became a speedrunner's dream, finding all these ways to just skip over different things or get through certain sections that much quicker. And they rewarded it because of, you had slightly different endings, mainly just in how much the suit Samus took off, but it made you want to try to do better and made it that much more replayable, despite the fact that ostensibly it's only a 4 or 5 hour game. It's not a super long game at all, but that's the fun of it. It's just going through, getting better, seeing how much you can find that much more quickly and getting your time down. And it's addictive that way. I don't know. It's just it
really does stay with you though, doesn't it? Like even if you're not mastering all these abilities, on your first playthrough, there's going to be points where you're like where do I go now? Because the path isn't always clear. Sometimes you get to a point where it's seemingly a dead end and you have to go all the way across the world. But you look at your map, you see what rooms you haven't been in, you see what weapons you've had. But then on another playthrough, that stumble isn't going to happen because you remember. You're not going to be stumbling around in that glass container that you've got a power bomb thinking like, what do I do here? Because it just becomes common sense to you now. But the concept of breaking an environment open is so alien to game design. Like that was never really done before.
Not really. And again, the silent storytelling that was mentioned by Press Play to Jason, fantastic. Everybody remembers the finale of Super Metroid and how it's taken care of. It stands out. There's a reason it is so well remembered. Even though I honestly don't know how the original sales were for Super Metroid, because I'm pretty sure it was somewhat late SNES.
I'm not entirely sure how much it's. I don't think it sold badly, but it definitely wouldn't be like a Mario tier thing.
Yeah, so this came out in '94, which I believe at that point the PS1 was the PS1 out, or
it was in like its early days. Yeah.
So it's weird. Again, it's I can't get around my head that it came out around the same time as the PlayStation 1. So in Japan, it was the 9th best-selling game of '94 with 531,000 copies sold.
Okay, which is pretty good for the era.
Yeah. By late 2003, the game had shipped 1.42 million copies, so decent for what it is, but definitely like just critical reception and just fan reception. Obviously, it's just so well regarded.
Yeah, I mean, Metroidvanias are like the most popular indie genre today, and if Super Metroid hadn't popularized them like this, it would have never been a thing.
No, definitely not. So yeah, Super Metroid at number 20. Let's continue on to our number 19, beating out Super Metroid by 47 points.
Okay, what are we dealing with now? Not another S, please.
Nope, no S. We're going C.
C, that sounds easy, but I bet it's not. Oh no, C's got a bunch too. So we got Crazy Taxi, Chrono Trigger, Celeste, Cave Story, all the Castlevanias pretty much. Okay, that is actually really difficult.
It's never easy.
I'll save Chrono Trigger for a bit later. Let's go with Celeste.
All right. At number 19, Celeste.
Oh, good. I was quite hesitant about saving Chrono Trigger, actually, because we just had Super Metroid. I don't know where the legacy rests anymore. But,
yeah, it's an odd thing. You never know. I like that you don't quite know where things are going to end up in this case. But yeah, Celeste at number 19. But of course, before we give our thoughts, we have another special guest to explain why Celeste deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
So Celeste to me is actually my COVID game. I know a lot of people in 2020 were playing Animal Crossing. That wasn't really for me. What I was playing instead was Celeste. And this is one of those games that I'd heard a lot of people say was really, really fun. And I try to play indie games. I try to play stuff beyond Nintendo. It's hard to find time. But this is one of those games where I kept hearing about it over and over. And I'm so glad that I got to play it because it is by far one of my favorite 2D platformers of all time. And that's for a lot of different reasons. Celeste is a really fun platformer. It's extremely challenging. The graphical art style is very endearing. And I just love everything about it. There's a ton of collectibles. Going for the strawberries is a lot of fun. But of course, I think probably the most remarkable part of Celeste, which, everyone, if you play the game, you already know where this is going. It's all about the story. It's a story about, climbing a mountain, the struggles of going through that. It's a story about mental health. Madeline struggles with anxiety, and she has to learn to basically overcome that to be able to climb this mountain. And I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with just in general is anxiety. And, it's definitely not like the first time that we've seen indie games try this, but I think the way that Celeste told its story and the pauses that it has in between all of its chapters are just really, really well crafted and done. Yeah, I was addicted to the game. Obviously I beat it. I got all the strawberries. I tried 100% it. And unfortunately, I was not able to do that because as I was working through the B-side, I started to get really, really bad hand cramps. And that's because the game is just so difficult. And I was playing it for such long periods of time because, this was during COVID. I had more free time than usual, which I guess is a little bit funny, but also kind of stinks. I really did want to finish that game. But, I was playing it off of the Switch and, I was mostly using the D-pad to navigate. Sometimes I'd switch to the joystick, but there was just something about the movement. You had to be so fast and precise to get through some of those stages. And unfortunately, I dealt with hand cramps. I wasn't able to finish it, but I would really like to eventually go back to the game and just to play it again because it really is fantastic. And if you haven't played it yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. It is one of the best 2D platformers I've ever played. And then the music on top of that. The music is just absolutely delectable. It is just perfect. It is so well done. I just love everything about the game. I don't think it really has any flaws unless you don't like difficult games. It is very, very challenging, but it's a very special game to me, even though it did kind of end with my hand getting completely destroyed for a little bit. But at the end of the day, it was all worth it.
Well, of course, when this first got nominated, we spoke before about just how special the game is. And I gave my train story, how I played the entire game on a train ride and just got lost in it. Made those hours fly by. But, what more can you say about Celeste at this point? It's just a delight.
It's, from a gameplay perspective, looking past its themes and everything, just from a gameplay perspective, it really took that sort of formula that was kind of started by Super Meat Boy, that sort of that tough platforming gauntlet where it's a single screen, you've got to get to the end. It's kind of that again, but it feels more deliberate. You can take your time, and it gets really difficult the more you want it to be difficult. If you just want to finish the game, you can, but then there's so much more to the platforming than that, beyond that, and it's so powerful how it changes different people, because there's some people that really identify with Madeline, and this game is like a mirror for them. It has that place in society that I can't think of any other games having. It's just so powerful, and it does it all through gameplay without really much storytelling in there. It's all just done through the actions. A
lot of times, yes, and there's some moments of elation in this game that the gameplay reflects. Again, it's the same way as Super Metroid has that environmental storytelling where there is actual storytelling going on, but it's enhanced by the gameplay.
Yeah,
and that's just some of the best stuff you can have. That can just really help resonate certain games with you. And as you said, it is as punishing as you want it to be. This game could be really tough if you want to go for everything, but if you just want to enjoy it, it's a pretty comfortable romp. Like, it'll challenge you, but it's not impossible.
No, yeah, and there's also a bunch of accessibility options if you want to lean on them as well. But it succeeds in everything. It's visually, it's minimalist. Like, Madeline doesn't have eyes, but it does so much with the pixels it gives you. The color theory is spectacular. Music just makes everything feel bigger and more bombastic. And then it's all these pillars just come together. There's not a low point of Celeste. It's just magnificent.
Yeah, for sure. So I think well deserved at number 19. A lot of love for it around here for sure. So yeah. Let's move on and see what our number 18 game of all time is, beating out Celeste by 17 points. God, these are so close.
Give me a letter.
The letter you're working with is E.
E, you say. I can't think of many E video games. Oh, it's Earthbound or Elden Ring. And I think we had Earthbound. So it's Elden Ring.
About as easy as you can get.
Yeah.
Yes. At number 18, Elden Ring. Both E games made it in.
Yeah. I mean, we had Bloodborne at 26, which was pretty devastating. But Elden Ring is also just absolutely spectacular.
Yep.
Yeah.
So before we get into our thoughts, we have another special guest to explain why Elden Ring deserves to be considered one of the best of all time.
It's so rare, if it ever happens at all, when a company gives you a game that's pretty much everything you could possibly ask for and more, like a whole lot more, just like the most absurd, unlikely wish fulfillment possible. Elden Ring is nearly everything that I loved about Dark Souls, but with the rough edges that I didn't like shaved off. Mainly the long boss runbacks are gone, but then there are plenty of other little quality of life improvements. The whole formula is just a lot more refined here. It's the same immensely satisfying combat flow, but everything works better, feels better, and more than anything, it's the world. It's the same impeccable environmental design, but just blown up, huge. It's so gorgeously detailed, so interesting to traverse. You want to explore every little inch, every nook and cranny, but now it is impossibly massive. These huge open fields where you travel on horseback, but then there's still plenty of real dungeons to find, including all these little mini dungeons. You got secrets on top of secrets all over the place. Like it's a game that never ends. Honestly, it's the only game I've ever played where I felt like it might actually be too much game. You know, like you're just heaping food on my plate, and it's spilling over the sides, it's spilling off of the table, and I'm just having a hard time eating this much. It's just so weird having a world this big that still features so many handcrafted places to explore, so many just like smaller, meaningful things. Like you never know what you're gonna find next, and I really actually mean you really never know what you're going to find next. There are so many places that just quietly sit there and wait for you to discover them. And if you're not thorough, you might not. They may just go completely undiscovered. Like you'll discover this simple little cave that you just nearly overlooked, and you'll explore it and you'll find that it leads to like a whole new area. It's nuts. You explore thoroughly and you are constantly rewarded. And sure, there's plenty of fluff in there. Like of course there is. It's an open world game. You're gonna have some repeat boss encounters and some reused assets and whatnot. But that's only a plus. Like, you want a more focused, pared down experience, then just like skip all that stuff. But if you want a FromSoft game that just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, you got it. Taking the Souls formula and putting it into an open world had the potential to be an absolute disaster. Just one of those trend-chasing blunders that was just doomed from the word go. You know, just a game that completely misses the point. But no, they did it. They went open world, and they not only pulled it off, they raised the bar for open worlds. It's the coolest video game world I've ever explored. Elden Ring offered me one of those magical, like, handful of times in a lifetime experiences that are practically extinct in this day and age. They really just don't happen anymore, do they? Other games will figure out how to top it eventually, but I don't know if any game will ever have the impact on me that Elden Ring did. It was the video game that essentially perfected video game worlds.
So there was a lot of theories on, Bloodborne being so low, but I think you even had a theory is that there's just so many good FromSoft games that how do you quantify? Because everybody sort of has their own flavor that they gravitate towards. Because, within the top 50, I believe, we had Dark Souls at 31, Bloodborne at 26, and now Elden Ring at 18. Yeah. Those are all very high.
You probably don't fill your list with all of them. I think you have one FromSoftware game that really resonates with you, and that's usually your favorite one. Yeah.
I think that's how it goes. And it's all about flavors. You got your more classic sort of focused form with Dark Souls. You got your more steampunkish form with Bloodborne, more action-based. But Elden Ring is sort of the everything for everyone type thing where it's just like, how do you want to play this game? Yes, do that.
It's Dark Souls is like Breath of the Wild approach. You're thrown into this world and they just sort of say go. And like there's always a difficulty conversation that happens when a From Software game releases, where it's like, should games be this difficult? I think every From Software game usually gives you the tools to deal with the difficulty, whether it's the summons or whatever. But Elden Ring is more forgiving than any of them, because if a boss is too tough, just don't fight them yet. Just turn back.
Leave.
Yeah, just leave. Just go to a new area, fight someone else, and then you'll
It's
be
not even
more
that you have to go
powerful.
grind. It just go explore somewhere else.
Exactly. It's not downtime. It's just replacing your focus. So if a battle's too hard for you, go leave that castle. Just go somewhere else. Take down another place. Because there's mandatory content to finish the story, and there's side content, which is just stuff you don't have to do. But if you do, you'll find better weapons. You'll gain more experience. You'll open more of the world. But it's all of equal quality. It's really hard to distinguish what you're meant to do to progress the story and what is just there in the world. And there's a point really early on where you open a chest and it just teleports you to a way higher place in the world, and all you can do is run away. But running is a key part of this. Like if there's parts of the world that are too challenging for you, and you are meant to run away from them. You get a horse as well where you can do that. You can just gallop away. But it's such a different game to anything that exists. And there's a lot of Breath of the Wild DNA in there, but the way it pushes Dark Souls into it just changes everything.
I'm one of the things that stood out to me when from the little bit I was able to play of Elden Ring, is that there's this procession that goes by that has this one just carriage that has it, and it's surrounded by all these guards. And I remember looking at that being like, I want to know what's in that carriage. What are they protecting? But also the question of, am I actually strong enough to fight those guys? Because there's like 10 of them and I can see them all bum rushing me at once. So how do I do this? And I never figured it out, but it still stands. It sits in my head. It's like, how would I approach that? Would I try it right away, or would I come back to it later and then make the attempt? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how feasible it is to pick them off one at a time. But
you can
like
lure
those
them
moments.
out. Like you can make your way, because it's fully explorable. You can come from any angle you want. You can try and lure them out. Deal with the ones from the distance first. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can approach that kind of situation.
I want to play so many more Soulsborne games. It just Bloodborne happens to be the one that I played first, just because that was definitely my aesthetic. But yeah, Elden Ring is definitely on the list to check out even more of. So I think it makes sense to see it here at number 18.
Yes.
All right, let's continue on to our number 17 game of all time, beating out Elden Ring by 5 points.
Ooh, one person could have changed that.
One person could have changed it, and that game begins with the letter P.
The dreaded P. All right. Okay. I will go, because I know how thirsty the fan base is. We're going to go with Pikmin.
Going with Pikmin. All right. At number 17, it is not Pikmin.
Oh.
It is Portal 2.
I'm glad.
I wasn't sure if you'd be disappointed it wasn't higher up.
Yeah, I mean, there's too many good games at this point.
Yeah, it's true. But before we give our thoughts, of course, we have another special guest to explain why Portal 2 deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Josh Jepson, and today I'm here to talk to you about Portal 2, which is in my personal top 3 favorite games of all time. I just love the world of Portal. I really think that they did an incredible job building on what the first Portal did so well, which was this very atmospheric world with this crazy character chatting in your ear. And they took... of course, the puzzles, the amazing puzzles that make you feel stupid and then immediately make you feel smart. It just is, it's a genius game, the first Portal. And they took everything that was great about that and multiplied it by 10 for the sequel. You still have GLaDOS chirping in your ear, but you also have Wheatley, and you have this genius writing of the two characters and sort of their arc. You have an excellent world that is built on even more. It shares a world with the world of Half-Life as well. So there's all these like little mysteries and references and things between those games that I think is just really, really brilliant. And again, more puzzles that make you feel stupid for a while and then immediately make you feel smart. And you have those aha, eureka moments. Which I love in games in general. Just any games that have puzzles like that are some of my favorites. You could get rid of all the other stuff, and I would still love this game just based on the puzzles alone. Again, and it has an amazing aesthetic, too. Just this sort of dystopian, futuristic world. Like, you don't really know where you are or who you are or what's going on. And you get bits and pieces, little treats of the grander lore of the world that you're in, mixed in with this crazy story of you running tests for an evil robot overlord. I think Portal 2 specifically is very fantastic. And it's one of the few games that when I first completed it, immediately started a fresh save to play through it a second time, despite the fact that I knew all the puzzles. Which isn't even a problem anymore because not only did they add a co-op DLC, which is super, super fun and incredibly infuriating, especially if you've played it before and you're introducing somebody to the game. They also added the perpetual testing initiative, which is these endless user-generated levels that you can just build within the game. And so there's just an infinite amount of Portal 2 out there for you to go and play. My takeaway from it is that they did a fantastic job building on the first Portal, and it genuinely deserves top 25 games of all time.
God, what do you say about Portal 2? Because it's Portal 2. It's so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, that first game is one of the most clever games ever. And they basically gave the second one a Half-Life budget. Gave it a full story with a character that's with you for most of the ride. There's lots of twists and turns. But even just burning that stuff all away, the ingenuity of the mechanics introduced are so clever. They could have just done Portal again, but they give you all these gels to work with, like the bouncy one and the fast one, the one that you can just spray on walls anywhere. You get like those tractor beams, you get those light bridges. There's so much stuff packed in there. And I love using it in the abandoned facility where everything's like shut down, and you have to scope your way around, work out where you can throw a portal, where you can sort of exploit everything. It's wonderful.
Kudos to providing a co-op mode as well. I don't think we talked about it as much when this was initially nominated, but man, there are some devious puzzles when it comes to the co-op mode. I played the entire thing with a friend, and there was some that we were just stuck on, and we're just like, okay, how does this work? We do this? Can we launch ourselves here? Okay, we can get to that point, but what do we do here? Like, the mind it takes to form these puzzles for you to figure out is incredible to me, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't give somebody like, oh yeah, let me make this puzzle for you that is both challenging and fun and, doable. That can't be understated. That takes some really ingenious design sense.
I love they didn't sacrifice the core single player either. That campaign is made with one person in mind, and it's fantastic. And then the two player, everything's made for two players. And the communication tools are great too. Like you have all these tools where you can be like, place a portal here, and then a little dot shows exactly where you're pointing, or like blow yourself up here or something like that. And then the PC version's got a whole level creator. You can just make your own levels. And then there's all those PS3 move controller things as well. Like it goes pretty deep when you start exploring the different versions of the game. But
was there crossplay between PS3 and PC?
There used to be. The PS3 version stopped getting updated at a certain point. But when you bought on PS3, you also got a Steam code with the game, which you could give to a friend as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I wish that was done more often, because it's just a neat idea, especially with the co-op and everything. It really just does come across as a special game. And we gave our top 10, and I believe actually I did not have Portal 2 in mind. Oh my God, God, I had to make some tough cuts.
Yeah, it gets close though. It gets really close.
It does. Easily, it'd probably be my top 20 easily.
Yeah, same.
Because there's some just fun special memories. But yeah, Portal 2, fantastic. If you haven't tried it yet, there's like a Switch version now, right?
Yeah, the Switch versions of 1 and 2, and they're both great.
Yeah, so check that out if you somehow have not played this yet. But yeah, Portal 2 at number 17. So let's continue on to our number 16 game of all time, beating out Portal 2 by 58 points.
Oh, okay.
A little bit closer.
Yeah.
However, John, it is the dreaded letter S.
S. All right. Okay. God, you guys, I can't understate how much stuff is in S. Shin Megami Tensei, Shenmue, Shadow of the Colossus, Sonic, Street Fighter, any game that has Super in, Skies of Arcadia, it's horrific. I will go with, we're going to go with a Mario. I will go with Super Mario Galaxy 1. Because I think they had Galaxy 2 last time.
All right. At number 16. So close, John. Super Mario 64.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, man, what do you... This will be an interesting one to talk about. Before we give our thoughts, let's have our special guest explain why Super Mario 64 deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time, as if you guys need to have that explained.
What can I say about Super Mario 64 that hasn't already been said a million times before? It is one of the, if not the most influential game ever. When I picked up my copy of this in 1996, nearly 30 years ago, it's no exaggeration to say that my life completely changed. The medium of video games completely changed forever. We talk so much about how the PS1 to PS2 generation or the N64 to the GameCube was the biggest leap ever in gaming, but that just simply isn't true. The leap from the Super NES to the N64 changed everything we knew about video games. It changed how we controlled them, how we interacted with them, how we observed them, even how we hooked consoles up. It just was such a huge moment, and it was something that as a kid, I had difficulty wrapping my head around, the idea that Mario now existed in 3 dimensions. Super Mario 64 was obviously not the very first 3D game ever. There were others doing it. But Mario 64 is the one that laid the blueprints for every 3D game that would follow, whether it was Ocarina of Time a little bit later, or Tears of the Kingdom today, or Super Mario Odyssey. All of these games, and not just Nintendo games, but games made by everyone, were influenced by the blueprint that Nintendo made. Because it was so successful, it made 3D feel accessible and right in a world where everyone was coming in with little to no experience with the medium. We all played 2D games before this. And so just seeing Bomb Battlefield, I remember the first time I got the wing cap power up, the first time I got the Metal Mario power up, and just I was in awe of what I was seeing on my screen. My dad had a gaming PC just feet away from where I hooked up my N64 for the first time, and this still felt completely impossible that a console could do something like this. I hadn't seen a game like this anywhere else in the world at this point. And now we just kind of take 3D for granted, but Mario 64 was not just wonderful because it was the first time 3D was done well, but it's just an excellent game in its own right. It's magical. Every stage, it was this big open world to explore. It was massive for its time. And it invented the concept of the collectathon platformer, where you were just getting power stars and there were multiple objectives to each level. It really turned my idea of what a game could be on its nose in the best possible way. I played this game day and night throughout my summer break, just staying up till 1, 2, 3 in the morning collecting stars until I literally couldn't keep my eyes open, just to get up the next day and play as much as I could before my parents kicked me off or I was forced to go to bed. I love this game so much. I could never overstate how much Mario 64 means to me. And it is, in one small way, a kind of you had to be there moment. But I think whether you were around back then or whether you came into gaming later, you can find something to appreciate about this. It may not be the most polished 3D platform in the world by modern standards, but it was the first one to do it and the first one to do it right. And that's why I love Super Mario 64 so much.
Oh man, Super Mario 64 has been discussed so much. Like, how do we bring something new to the table here? Because it is the 3D game.
Yeah.
Really.
It was a really interesting adaptation too, because a lot of franchises like Zelda, they took a link to the past, they made it 3D. There's more to it than that, but with Mario, they didn't take Super Mario Brothers and make it 3D. They basically made a new game. You know, it's not about getting to the end of the level. It's about a sandbox, and sandbox design has adapted into so many different forms. Like Minecraft is a sandbox, and without Mario 64, it's hard to tell where video games would have gone. Would they have understood platforming? Would they have understood how cameras work? Because there were 3D games before this, and a lot of them don't understand those fundamentals. A lot of them don't quite get it right. A lot of them use tank controls. Mario 64 is like, no, we're not using tank controls. We're just where you move the stick is where you go, because sticks didn't really exist prior to this.
Right.
Yeah.
The N64 controller determined how they were going to do that, and having that full range of movement was very weird to transition to. It took me a long time, my first 3D game that I played fully was Spyro the Dragon. And I think that had analog controls. I can't remember if that had analog, but I remember using the D-pad instead, and it worked fine. But going back to it, I can't imagine doing that because the smoothness of an analog stick is so just intuitive now. But I think with the whole 3D design, it's the first one that really understood that just moving around in 3D was inherently fun. They made it so enjoyable to just move and platform and see what you can do with Mario. The punches, the backflips, the side flips, the what have you, the long jumps. Like, moving as Mario was just so much fun compared to any Mario game previously.
Yeah. And this was not my first 3D game by a lot. Like, I experienced a lot of 3D games before Mario 64. And it didn't matter. Because everything still hit as hard as it ever did. Because even years after, games just weren't doing what Mario 64 was doing. Mario wasn't doing what Mario 64 was doing. It just did it all so effortlessly. It was always so fun to go into a new world, a new sandbox, and just do all these objectives, stumble across an objective that isn't the primary one. It's done so well, and it still holds up remarkably well. Like, in a critical hindsight, there's some levels I don't love as much. I don't love, the Rainbow one, the Rainbow Ride. I don't love parts of a lot of the upper floor of the castle. I don't love entirely, but taken as a whole, it's just immaculate design. It's just fun to jump around, and much like Super Metroid started like the speedrunner route, Mario 64 really did that for 3D platformers. And it's so fun to use all of Mario's jumps to try and do things in the best way possible. Even without the backwards long jump, just using the triple jump and the long jump, there's so much you can do with just those moves alone.
And it's one of those things you don't think about at the time, but it's like, how do they take advantage of the 3D space? So how do you fight Bowser? You spin him in 360 degrees. You can't do that in 2D. So that's you don't think about it nowadays, but it's one of those things like, no, that's them showing off. They can do that.
Yeah, how do you do swimming? Like in previous Mario games, you keep tapping A. In this one, it becomes like a plane almost. There's like inverted controls. You can just hold the A button and just swim around. And you had like dire docks with these sprawling pools of water. It's still so rarely done. Because I think it's still quite a daunting way to design a game, but they did it on their first try.
I mean, I don't have a full history here, but is this Mario wasn't able to grab ledges before, and now he can do it.
True.
Because it just makes sense in a 3D sense. Again, very brilliant design. Still holds up surprisingly well. Like, obviously it's showing its age at this point, but it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah. And moves like the triple jump and the wall jump, they found their way into 2D Mario because they were just so naturally evolutions of Mario's moveset.
Yeah. For sure. So, Stone Cold Classic, for sure. So, Super Mario 64 at number 16. All right, John. our top 15, we are moving right along here. Let's see what beat out Mario 64. And it's our first real big jump. Because our next game, number 15, beat out Mario 64 by 250-ish points.
That is a lot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What lesson?
And it's not going to be any easier for you because it's another S.
Another S. All right. Well, I'm able to with a jump that big. I think I can disqualify a few games. But there's God. These have all qualified for the best game of all times. It's hard to disqualify much. Okay. What's better than Mario 64?
There are apparently 15 games better than Mario 64.
Yeah. Jesus. I'll go with Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
All right. Sonic 3 and Knuckles. At number 15, well, the only thing that can beat Mario is Mario. Okay. Super Mario Odyssey.
Sure. All right.
Goodness. Yeah, before we give our thoughts on that one, we do have another special guest to explain why Mario Odyssey deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Hey, I'm the other Derrick. It's me, the other Derrick. So Mario Odyssey, best game of all time. Well, it's the game that gave us Bowsette. Was it? Wait. No, it wasn't the game that gave us Bowsette. So, nah, actually take it off the list, guys. Take it off. I'm here to talk about Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch and why it's one of the greatest games ever made. Outside of just the cultural significance of that game. Because go back to 2017 and remember that coming off of the Wii U, the Switch just dropped like a bomb and launched with Breath of the Wild, which was an incredible game. And then, kind of quietly releasing Mario Kart, which would end up being the best-selling game on the system. But then their victory lap was Mario Odyssey. Remember how down bad Nintendo was for the Wii U and also for the 3DS at first. Nintendo came off of the Wii somehow winning and losing at the same time. Odyssey was like when Nintendo was finally back for real. It was their victory lap. And did they freaking crush it? For me, it comes down to the hat. All the stuff you can do with the hat, it felt so significant what they did with the platforming and all of the cool hat stuff. And like a classic Mario game, it is easy to pick up, easy to get into. It has the insane level of nuance, the amount of moves and traversal and just cool stuff you can do with the hat. Watch a speedrun of this game. Watch people play Mario Odyssey at the highest possible skill level. It's mesmerizing. And then of course throwing Cappy on things all right, be honest. The first time you saw and then threw Cappy on the dinosaur, that was just, can I curse? That was fucking rad. It was just fucking rad. This game is, it really just proves that during the entire Wii U lifespan, and when they were just kind of tripping over themselves constantly, even though I think they made a lot of great stuff during the Wii U, but they were just not putting up numbers. You can never count Nintendo out. And they came back so confident and so smart and really made Odyssey something super, super special. They are one of those companies that's playing chess. Everyone else is playing checkers. They are going at their own pace. They are doing their own thing. And Mario Odyssey was such a it was the third shot across the bow that year. And so that historical significance of it was the return to form of a new era for Nintendo. And then genuinely such a creative, such a hungry and well-made new platformer. No, it's still one of the best. Though I haven't played I haven't played Galaxy 2. But then again, y'all didn't vote for Galaxy 2. I guess the Galaxy games are on the list, right? So we're only talking about Odyssey. So I guess that's your fault. But yes, no. Odyssey still slaps. It's still great. When I'm Derrick Alexander from Stop Skeletons and Fighting, I'm sure you have a Chiron on the bottom to explain that too. But just in case, people don't know who I am. Hey, I'm Derrick, spelled the right way.
Mario Odyssey was such a delight just the entire way through. It really did feel like it. It took the idea of taking a core concept that was really fun and then going back to the Mario 64 style of platforming. Because, Galaxy took it in a much more linear fashion. This gave you the sandboxes again.
Yeah.
And a lot more tools to play around with in its own way.
It's interesting to see it higher than 64. Because if you pay attention to the social bubble, you'd probably think this was an awful game. The reception to Odyssey it wraps around on itself so frequently. And some say like it's the worst Mario. Some say it's just flat out a bad game, and I feel like I'm in crazy land when I see those takes. Odyssey is wonderful, and as you were touching on, a lot of it does come down to the moveset. There's two ways you can play this game. You play it normally, where you capture everything, and that's fun. And I think that's fun for an initial playthrough. But when revisiting, I think you really have to play around with what you have. And so if you do the cap throws and the dives on the cap, and then you do a roll out of it, you get so many moves open to you, and it makes you feel like you're good at the game. These aren't like particularly like crazily hard moves to pull off. It's more than the average player can probably do. But once you nail them, it just feels great to tangle all those moves together, and everything is designed to do that. Like there's walls that you can climb up, like walls that need a pipe to go through usually and get you in the 2D element. You can just climb up them if you use the right moves. And sometimes you're rewarded for that. Sometimes you climb up a pillar and you're like on the ledge and you do a butt stump jump and you jump up again and you throw your cap and you wall jump off, you dive on, and there's coins up there waiting for you. It's like, I shouldn't be able to do that, but the developers know you're going to do it. There's a lot of layers to what makes this game great, and yeah, that feeling of mastery is chief among them.
Yeah, and I don't have that mastery. Like, it blew my mind when I saw somebody pull off the jump from the initial platform of Dudong City to the main portion of Dudong City without having to use the electrical wire. Just unbelievable what you could do there. But I still had just fun, just like capturing everything. Like, ooh, I get to take over the body of a Hammer Bros or Fire Bros. I get to take over the body of this weird plant that can grow up, and that just changes how it works. I can take over a T-Rex.
Yeah.
It felt like Mario wasn't afraid to get weird with this one.
Totally. I also really like the balloon mode, Luigi's balloon mode. Because there's a few in there which are just like do these crazy jumps to get to a certain place. But there's also some that just challenge how you get around the sandbox. So you finish the game, you've got all the moons. You can just chill in the sandboxes. But that balloon mode just gave you endless replayability to test your skill in how quickly and how efficient you are at that moveset. That was a really cool one. But yeah, every world in this game is cool, though. I think with Bonanza, reflecting back a little bit, I think some of those worlds blend together a little bit. All of Odyssey's are entirely distinct. And it's so cool to go to like new art styles a lot of the time. You go to this sort of low poly food area, you go to the beach, you go to a city, you go to a forest. There's so many cool things in there, and they're all full of their own gimmicks and captures. Yeah, it's a wonderful game. And
it really feels like they've learned how to reward the player a lot of times, because that's something they've struggled with in the past. But to be able to change up Mario's costume really does mean a lot.
It does.
Being able to just customize how you want him to look, that's always a lot of fun. Get all those little like trinkets that you can decorate the Odyssey with. Adds a lot of personalizing touch to it that I just end up really enjoying. I thought this was a blast the entire way through. I think the finale is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
To my mind, probably some of the best Bowser fights in 3D.
They were really good, yeah. It's a Switch era game, so it's got its own musical number. It's got 2 of them, and they're both brilliant.
Brought us back Pauline, which paid off dividends thanks to Bonanza. This team loves Pauline, and I am there for it. It's just a great time. Just a freaking great time. And I think, there is that discussion about where it kind of places, but I think this generally shows that, no, Mario Odyssey is going to have a favorable tale as time goes on.
There's always a group of people with loud opinions, but when you make it anonymous like this, I think it really shows where Odyssey's love really is.
So, yeah, Super Mario Odyssey at number 15. So let's continue on, and believe it or not, John, we have a tie for number 13.
Okay.
This, again, reminder, 4,500 votes, and we still ended up with a tie. So rather than talk about both at the same time, we're going to take them one at a time, but these are considered equivalent in this case. Crazy and all in all. So we'll just start with one. That way we can focus in on it, and then we'll talk about the other. So let's talk about our first game at number 13 for this tie. Beat out Mario Odyssey by 66 points, and begins with the letter X.
X, okay. So, yeah, Ash let it slip that 3's in here somewhere. However, we've only had 2 so far, I think. For Xenoblade, that is. Assuming it's Xenoblade. It could be X-Men Arcade. But Xenoblade 1 or 3, they could both be here. I'll play it safe and say 3, but 1 could be here too.
All right. Tied for number 13, Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Take it away, Ash.
Yeah, before we give our thoughts, we have our special guest, Ash the Tattletale, to explain why Xenoblade Chronicles 3 deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Hey there, party people. Ash from GVG here to talk about a game that is near and dear to my own heart, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I am thrilled that our own audience and our own fans have voted it up this much because it absolutely deserves it and is one of the most deserving games out there. This is a game that when I started playing it, I could not put it down. And when I had to put it down, I was thinking about playing it. I was always thinking, like, what's around that next corner? What's going to happen next in the story? What's going to happen to these characters and this relationship and that relationship? And it's just a game that absolutely lived rent-free in my head for the close to 100 hours I played it. And as soon as I finished the main game, I got the DLC and played that. And I wanted to stay in the world of Ionios as long as I possibly could. And I sure did. And speaking of that world, exploration is such an important part of the Xenoblade series. And I think exploring this game's world, Ionios, was so interesting because every segment of it really stands out in its own way. And even better, if you played Xenoblade 1 and 2, there are various callbacks and references to the worlds of those games, obviously for story reasons I won't get into here. But that made 3 feel even more just complete and just more fun to explore because it felt like it was the culmination of something that's been building for years and years. And that extends to the story, of course, the characters in particular. I love the characters. Your main group of 6 is just one of the most enjoyable cast of characters to venture and journey with that I've really ever encountered in an RPG. Plus, I'm a big romantic. I'm a big softie, so Noah and Mio, I thought they were adorable. I couldn't wait to see where their love story was going and how everything was going to conclude. The voice work is amazing across the entire cast. To be fair, that's kind of like a Xenoblade thing in general, but 3 just even hits those higher marks somehow. And some of the most dramatic cutscenes, it just makes you just get goosebumps because the delivery and the drama is so good. It's just so on point. And then, of course, every great JRPG needs a great soundtrack to match, and this one certainly hits those marks. It comes from the master, Yasunori Mitsuda himself of Chrono Trigger fame. And in particular, I think Xenoblade 3 has some of the best battle themes in the series. That's a high mark for sure, or a high bar to clear, but in particular, I go back to the Mobius boss theme a lot, and I just think about, and I just listen to it over and over again, and I'm like, man, this is one of the coolest songs I've ever heard in my life. And then, of course, there's always the gameplay. And I think this version of the battle system is the best one yet. They've kind of been iterating and modifying the same core battle system across the entire series. And 2's kind of took a step back for me, but 3's really came back strong and brought it all together in a way that I really enjoyed. So, I could talk about this game forever, but I don't have forever, so all I'll say is Xenoblade 3 is an amazing game. It is absolutely deserving of all the votes it's gotten, and I'm glad to see it here.
It is fascinating to look back on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 now for me because I recently replayed Xenogears, and I had forgotten how much of that game Xenoblade 3 pulls from.
Oh, yeah.
It really is it's its own thing, but it's unique in its own way. And good God, it's like I think it loses this a lot of the scale of what 1 and 2 had, but it makes up for it in fantastic characters and just finding stuff to do. Like this, I wanted to see everything in this game.
Yeah, you're right. How it tells its own story, which is remarkable, but it's putting everything together. It's 1 and 2's worlds. You're going to be recognizing locations and characters, but it doesn't lean on that really. Like they're there. They're along for the ride, but it's really its own characters and its own story and its own themes that are important. So it's very rare to pull off that sort of form of fan service, like seeing Melia and Nia in there. But that's not the draw. That's just part of the ride. The real fan service is in the DLC, but it's Noah and Mia's story that you're in there for, and they are so good. It's some of the strongest characters an RPG has had. The voice work is magnificent, and it pushes the series forward as well. Like the combat system is great. You can just change your character on the fly. I love the parts where you sail around on the boat. That was cool. It's just full of really great things. You're right, though. The scope does feel smaller. It doesn't really feel like you're walking around one big connected world anymore. And it doesn't really have the Titan sort of feeling either. It's more like connected areas, but it does such a service with all those elements, though. It does.
And there are certain areas that still blow your mind with what they're displaying, what they're showing, what you're exploring, and in those there's some really cool set pieces that happen because of that. But it's one thing we haven't talked about was we didn't really talk about was Xenoblade 2, but I think is this best time to talk about this is that how Monolith Soft somehow found a way to have sequels that are interconnected but still stand alone.
Yeah,
like they pay off elements that if you know about it first, it enhances it, but you don't need to know it. You can jump into Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and have a complete story. You won't get any of the references, but that's fine. I mean, again, it works in reverse. You could start with 3, go back to 2, and say, like, oh, this, or that's where this comes from. That sort of thing. Outside of a few minor things that I can think of offhand. And then they save a lot of their, like, you get your highly emotional storytelling for Torna for Xenoblade 2, and this one you get your fan service for the DLC here, and it's just all wonderful.
You don't need to know who Nia and Melia are. The characters don't know who they are, and I think you can be straight from their perspective. There's no need to really know what's going on. All you need to know is there's two factions stopped in time, and they're trying to stop it. That's the premise, really. It does enhance it, but it's not necessary at all.
Yeah, and it's fun to see how they take the implications of a world stopped in time and go beyond it with the elements that are not stopped in time, or what these characters are experiencing first time.
Yeah.
Like it's a fascinating world by that way, and I think it gets where it stumbles a bit. I think is it like introducing all the other characters that you meet along the way. It becomes sort of like, yep, here's our new guy. Here's what we're learning from them. It becomes kind of rote rather than natural.
There's a lot of party members to recruit. There's like 20 something in total,
something like that.
Yeah,
and they have good stories. It's just the actual meeting of them is like, well, here we're on our designated new area where we're going to learn about this character.
Yeah, a little bit formulaic in areas.
And
there is a lot of story if you dive into all that stuff. But
which
that core path is great though. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there's some fantastic emotional moments in this that just really get to you.
Yeah. The ending sequence is one of my favorites. There's a really cool effect in there, which I haven't really seen in media before. It's just really well done.
For sure. So, absolutely fantastic. Obviously our audience is very Xenoblade coded, but hey, I'm fine with that. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 tied at number 13. So let's find out what game it tied with. And John, it begins with the letter B.
B. Let's see what begins with B. Okay, we've had Bloodborne, we got Bayonetta and the Bioshocks, and Bomberman, Burnout. I'm going to say... Oh, Beyond Good and Evil's there too. I'll say Bayonetta 2.
All right. Tied for number 13, Baldur's Gate 3.
I didn't even read that one out.
I was like, oh, you missed it.
Yeah, I think I just missed it. God, yeah. Well, I won't speak about it now because someone else is going to.
Yeah, before we give our thoughts, we do have a special guest to explain why Baldur's Gate 3 deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
You know, when you talk about Baldur's Gate 3, I never played D&D growing up, but I did read a ton of the Forgotten Realms novels, which were all set in Faerun. It's the world that Baldur's Gate 3 is set in. So I was already really invested in that universe before the game came out. And when Baldur's 3 came out, and when I played it, over the course of well over 1,000 hours I put into that game, what I've come to realize is I think the main reason that Baldur's Gate 3 resonated so strongly with me is that it takes choice and puts it back in the hands of players. You could play that game 1,000 different times, 1,000 different ways, and no two playthroughs would ever be the same. And with the literal thousands and thousands of mods available, not just on PC, but now on console as well, you could practically, you could customize your own playthrough to where that playthrough is unique to you, and nobody else on Earth will ever have the same experience that you do with that game. And I think that's an incredibly powerful and compelling feeling, to know that, you know, your playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be wholly and completely unique to you. That to me is just absolutely wild, and is kind of really indicative of just how far this medium has come. It's one of the reasons I consider Baldur's Gate 3 to be, you know, the apex of storytelling in gaming. And that's just elevated completely by the performances across the board of all the actors, from Samantha Bayard to Dave Jones, and everyone in between. You can tell that everybody poured their heart and souls into bringing voice and life to these characters that you come to know over the course of hundreds and hundreds of hours. Just talking about it makes me want to go back and start a new playthrough. So yeah, I think for those reasons, Baldur's Gate 3 is not just one of the most finely crafted narrative experiences in gaming. I think it's one of the greatest games ever made.
So this is high up on my list that I really need to play.
I mean, it's spectacular. It's so rare a game of this scale is this interactive. Basically, anything you feel like you can do, you pretty much can. So you've got your core group of party members, and it's Dungeons and Dragons. So you get like a combat scenario where you can just fight your way through, or you can talk your way through. Anything can basically be done any way you think it can. Anytime you feel like there's a restriction that might be there, it's usually not. It feels like playing D&D with actual humans. It's just so varied and vast. And the performances are crazy. Like, this is a game with thousands upon thousands of hours of possible dialogue. You can finish it in like 100, but there's so much potential in there. And it's all like performance captured. The quality of everything is immaculate. It's crazy they managed to do it on this scale in a relatively, normal amount of time. Games just don't exist like this. It's wild how big this is and how much it allows you to do.
It feels impossible.
Yeah, it does feel impossible.
I've purposely not looked too closely at it just because I want to have that freshness and of discovery when I do play.
Yeah.
But I mean, you said it's like playing D&D with friends. I mean, you can kind of do that. It has multiplayer.
Yeah,
true. You can have a party of 4 and play through the game. One of our community members, Vash, is doing that with a group of friends right now. Doing that hardcore mode where if you die, you die. So It's like there's a lot of challenge and variation there about how you want to approach this, and the replayability, the fact that you have all these classes and races that you can choose from that I assume can fundamentally change how the story goes. And I don't know if there's a ton of different endings or it sort of filters you into a set ending.
There's a lot of endings, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people just play Baldur's Gate 3 and nothing else because there's so much in there. You can start as a new class, make different decisions, follow different paths, and it's going to change everything. You don't get to the central Baldur's Gate city until hours upon hours into the game. There's so many different decisions you can make in that time, and it's not like a lot of other games with decision making where it's like, oh, this changes what this guy's going to say. It changes the routes, it changes what's going on, it changes how characters will interact with you. Yeah, it's vast. It's just huge.
I'm really looking forward to trying it out myself. I mean, games like this is a big reason why I wanted to have special guests on, to have that more personal touch about why they love a certain game. I think that adds a lot more to me being like, I heard it's good. It looks good for everything I saw, but I haven't had that gameplay on it because it's so impossible to play everything. By the way, I'm going to use this to get on a little bit of a soap, just a tiny soapbox. I've heard, there's always been those complaints about me not playing a lot of games. So I went through our finalists to count how many games I've actually played. 289. Thank you very much. I think that's a pretty damn good list out of 500, especially when a lot of people were also comparing it, and certainly a few got higher, not as much as me. So, yeah. I'm curious where throw down that gauntlet. How many have you played of the 500 games on this list?
I'd need to count away.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games there.
Again, I want to play it. It's there. I mean, it's. I just need to take the time. So I'll get there eventually. But I was excited to see it do so well. Again, another more recent game, much in the same as Clair Obscur. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 tied at number 13. Boy, there's just a lot of threes here. We got Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Baldur's Gate 3 at number 13. So go figure. All right, let's continue on to our number 12 game of all time, beating out Baldur's Gate and Xenoblade by 71 points.
Pretty big gap there too.
Pretty big gap. And it begins with the. So.
The, all right.
Good luck there. Should I give you the next letter? Since there is a lot of those.
There is, but it might narrow it down a bit too much, actually.
Okay.
Because we're getting into series, I think, if you give me another letter.
True.
So, yeah, there's a lot of those. There's The World Ends With You. There's The Legend of Zelda, which is most of this. The Last of Us. I'll throw in another Zelda. So we've had Wind Waker, I want to say.
We've had Wind Waker and Twilight Princess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll say Ocarina of Time.
All right. At number 12, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Close. Not quite.
Close. Oh, goodness. Of course, before we give our own thoughts, we do have a special guest to explain why Majora's Mask deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
The more I think about it, the more I begin to realize that I believe The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is shaping up to be my favorite Zelda game of all time. It was a title I originally thought nothing of because of its fundamental changes to the standard Zelda formula at the time, and I found that both alienating and intimidating given the nature of the game's 3D structure and how you have to prevent the moon from crashing into the land of Termina. But years pass and eventually I get back to it not too long after I graduated college. And admittedly, it is hard to articulate and express just what was different this time for me that led me to not only finding a newfound appreciation for the gameplay structure, but all of the characters and the wonderful lore and world building you get inside the land of Termina that I don't think to this day, I haven't played every Zelda game admittedly, but I can't think of another game that comes close to matching the sort of unique, surreal vibe that is Termina, besides maybe Skyward Sword. And that character element is really what makes the journey so fulfilling to complete. It's not your standard Zelda formula where you have to worry about taking care of the King of Evil Ganondorf and, saving the day. In Majora's Mask, you're doing just that, but you're also learning about the people that you're saving. You get to see their lives, their hardships, and how everyone reacts differently to the moon crashing into the land. All of your story progression, all of your achievements, I think this leads into a more fulfilling and heartfelt experience. And sure enough, after enough replays, you start to stop and think about it, and it's like, I'm finding less and less to not like about this game anymore. I love the gameplay loop, I love the world, I love the characters, I love its atmosphere, I love its music, I love its graphics. I just love everything that is Majora's Mask and what makes it unique amongst other Zelda games released around the time. Hell, even today, I would argue. There's no other game in the franchise like Majora's Mask, and that is arguably why it wouldn't be considered a traditional Zelda experience, and it'd be hard to disagree. But I think Majora's Mask's quality of gameplay and storytelling just makes that whole thing completely irrelevant to me. Majora's Mask is not just a wonderful Zelda game, it is also just one of the best games ever made in my opinion. An adventure game with a surreal, somber atmosphere, with people that you can actually give a shit about, regardless if you did all the side quests or not.
It took me so long to get into Majora, and I think I spoke about this the first time around when we when this made it in. But man, it really, people are down on the 3D remake, but I think I still do prefer it. I think it's still a great way to experience it, at least for that first time.
Yeah, it's a funny game because like if you judge it as a Zelda game, if you assess those 4 dungeons that it has, I don't think it's a particularly great one. But that's also not the point. It's about embracing that time limit and interacting with the world and the characters around you. It's the strongest side quests in. If it was like assess all the games, like this will rank very highly in side quests because they're all extremely memorable. And then you've also got all those masks that you can deal with, like turning into a Deku Scrub or turning into a Goron or a Zora, and they're all so fun to play around with. But it's really the way that the world is entwined with what you're doing. If you just play it core as a regular Zelda game, I don't think you're really getting out of Majora's Mask what it could be.
No, not in the slightest. You have to go through for all those extras to see just as much as you can. Interact with all the people of this world, learn their stories, learn their what they're doing throughout the time of day. And just expanding upon that. And the way it expands the world is rather smart. Like, it's a pretty basic world when you just think, okay, go north, go south, go east, go west, get a different section there each time. But there's enough variety within each of those sections that it just keeps you invested. And I found myself just wanting to, like, naturally see everything. Like, there was a lot of stress on my part about the time mechanic. I was like, oh God, I'm running out of time for this. Oh God, I'm running out of time for this. But eventually I just had to remind myself, it's like, no, just take it as it is. And the same way I did with Persona and thinking I had a time limit for that as far as seeing everything I could. But when you discount that and realize like, okay, it's your attempt, you're learning something, just go for it. They have some tools to make things expand, give you a little bit more time. You'll be okay. And then I just sort of went with it. And I think the improved Bomber's Notebook helped me a lot for Majora's Mask. I know people love the swimming as a Zora way more in N64, but I didn't find myself swimming a lot. Maybe because it wasn't as fun, but I was just like, it's fine. It got me from point A to point B. It really did become one of my favorites after playing 3D, which is funny because it's a version a lot of people are down on.
Yeah, I'm glad that you still found enjoyment in it, though. It's such a cool sequel because Ocarina was... it was groundbreaking. So how do you follow that up? You don't really. Like, you just sort of do it again, but very off-kilter. And it's such a funny use of asset reuse because, you get characters that aren't the same character, but they look exactly the same as Ocarina. And instead of feeling cheap, it just adds to the weirdness of Termina. That weird sort of dream aesthetic of familiar things that aren't the same. And it's so rare you can pull that off convincingly, but not a single point playing Majora's Mask was I like, they're just reusing that thing. It's like, no, I believe this is a different thing.
Yeah. It's so smart to take, adult Malon and kid Malon and just make them sisters.
Yeah.
It's kind of brilliant in its own way. And you can feel the extra age Link has from his adventures in Ocarina of Time. Like
he's flipping around when he jumps.
Exactly. That demonstration of that, like him jumping from root to root. I remember going, oh my God, when he was doing his little side flips to the different trees. It was just, it's effective storytelling and, it has its own just flavor that people have just gravitated towards. And I'd like to see Nintendo take another stab at this sort of storytelling again with Zelda.
Yeah,
see what they could do. I think that'd be a lot of fun to see them use new tools to do the same thing. Like I guess Tears of the Kingdom is kind of like that, but it just kept the scale of it rather than narrowing down the focus. Which in Majora's Mask case is a product of the fact that, oh God, we have very little time to do this. So
Well, it's also a story that doesn't have Zelda in, doesn't have Ganon, doesn't have the Triforce. It's a rare thing in Zelda. They do it occasionally, but this is like the weirdest one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask at number 12. Almost at the top 10, but we have one more to get through. Our number 11 pick, beating out Majora's Mask by about 150 points. No, about 100. Hold on. About 200 points, excuse me.
200 points? Whoa,
yes.
okay.
A little less than 200 points.
All right, what letter?
Begins with the letter H.
H. All right. I feel like this is Halo 3's time.
Halo 3. All right. At number 11, Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. Oh.
The original Hollow Knight at number 11. So before we give our own thoughts on that, we do have another special guest to explain why Hollow Knight deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Hello, GVG. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about Hollow Knight. I can't believe I get to speak about Hollow Knight. It's so exciting. This is a game that absolutely deserves to be on this list. And I'm going to tell you for just a couple of minutes exactly why I think that is. At least why I personally think that is. Hollow Knight is a beautiful game. And I don't just mean the way it looks. It does look beautiful. But also every aspect of the design. The music and the visuals. Also the gameplay. The way you can customize your gameplay. The story that it tells. It all works together in harmony to create this absolutely incredible and unforgettable gaming experience. And I'm going to try and talk to you without giving anything away, because you may have played this game, you may have loved this game, you may know everything about this game, but if you haven't, I don't want to spoil the experience for you, because it is a game that you owe yourself to go and play and experience it for yourself. I poured nearly 100 hours into the game the first time I played it, and I did boot it up just to sort of refresh my memory before recording this video, and I meant to play for 40 minutes, an hour. I played for 5. I just played for 5 because it's that good. I couldn't stop playing. When the game starts off, you have this sort of vague kind of prophecy, and then a short video where you have no idea what on earth is happening until you see the knight wandering towards these lights in the distance. And then the game just drops you into it. No tutorials, just off you go. And it does one of my favourite things in games. It teaches you without showing you. A little pit, you've got to jump over it. Enemy in front of you, swing a sword at it. But then there's also mysteries. There's this blue goo, which doesn't seem to do anything. You walk over a floor and the pit gives way. There's spikes, which you will probably land on and it will send you back to where you were before. All these little clues, which basically set you up for this huge adventure ahead of you. It gives you everything you need to play the game right off the bat. And the world itself it drops you into is just beautiful. It's kind of steampunk adjacent. Gothic fantasy, but very dark and sort of crumbling, and it feels haunted. And the aesthetic just draws you in. You've got this beautiful piano melody playing in the background. And, then as you emerge into this world, you have your own little path that you tread at the start. It's littered with bugs. There are bugs everywhere. It's a game about bugs. And the bugs are the denizens of this world. And they vary. They've got a rich kind of life going on down there. You have these sort of offbeat characters, these big sort of round, squishy, lovable, cuddly bugs. And then you've got really haunting, menacing, angular, vicious things that, want to slice you to pieces. And they all work. They all work together perfectly. And that's no mean feat, to take really opposing things, stick them into the same game, and you can believe that they all live in that same place. It's a real testament to their design skill over at Team Cherry. The game never spoon feeds you. I mentioned the tutorial, but that kind of ethos carries on throughout the entire experience, and you come up against roadblocks, things that you think, I'm never going to get past this, so you go back and you explore, and it feels like there's always something to find, there's always more to explore. You find charms, which are a fantastic addition to this. Metroidvanias can be quite, ordered in the way you find power-ups sometimes and ordered in the way you go through them. But with charms, things that you equip to give the knight different powers, it lets you tailor the playing experience to how you want to play it and tackle challenges in a way that you want to tackle them. And it makes it accessible to players who might want to play in a different way. And that allows you to grow into the game without even realizing. And all of a sudden, all those challenges that felt completely insurmountable, just, go through them with ease, and that carries on and carries on and carries on, And it's all told through the lens of the knight, the silent protagonist. And I cannot say enough how much Metroidvanias thrive with silent protagonists, because then you experience the world how you want to experience it, and you see it how you see it. A really special part of a really good Metroidvania. Now take everything I've just said and also add in free DLC. Free. And DLC that is substantial, gives you a new story to explore, whole new characters, brilliant boss battles, and also a DLC package, which is one of the hardest things I've ever played. I genuinely rage quit, which I haven't done since I was a child. Thanks, Team Cherry. It was worth it. It was a lot of fun. The thing for me, though, and I think the thing that's sort of more than just the game itself, is the impact that the game had. Metroidvanias weren't really in fashion at the time that Hollow Knight came out. Yeah, they were still around and they were still being made, but 2D Metroidvanias weren't thriving. And this just absolutely smashed through that and brought them back into the sort of mainstream public consciousness. This was one of the first really massive indie games to properly smash through the kind of AAA bubble. Now, again, other indie games did exist. They had made an impact. But Hollow Knight was so sort of massively ingrained. Every time something was announced, you get chat flooded with Silksong after Hollow Knight's release and its subsequent mention. And yeah, that was sort of a bit of a meme, but it was born out of a desire for people to return to this world and this game that Team Cherry did such a spectacular job in making.
We shouldn't be surprised Hollow Knight's here.
No, we
considering Silksong's here as well, further down the list. I was not there at the time when it blew up. I'm so curious how it blew up. Like, it got that reputation that just like, you got to check this game out.
Yeah. It wasn't an overnight thing. Like, Hollow Knight released on PC originally, and it gained that reputation. It wasn't like huge at that point, though. I think it was really when it came to Switch that it exploded. See, it came to PC, then Switch the following year, and then PS4 and Xbox a bit later on. But it was definitely that word of mouth development, and it's really cool to see it this high up, because I think 10 years ago, it would be crazy to put a Metroid-esque game ahead of Metroid, apart from maybe Symphony of the Night. It'd be like sacrilege. But this one, it's so well made. The visual design's astonishing, but I think what Metroid doesn't do, like Metroid usually maps out where you've been. Hollow Knight just lets you get lost originally until you buy a map and then buy a compass. Yeah. Whereas this one, you have to actually map out your surroundings, much like NES Metroid, and then it sort of marries the two together. So you get that feeling of like, I'm discovering this myself and going in blind. I don't know where I'm going. So you get that lost feeling, and then you sort of pick yourself up with the map. It's a really cool middle ground.
It kind of gets into that old school sense of you just having to get in there. And I know that throws a lot of people off. It's just because it's frightening not having that map.
Yeah.
Where am I going? Am I heading the right way? Am I doing the right thing? I don't know what I'm doing. So I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but you kind of have to sort of just accept it and just go for it, and you will discover things. It's almost that encouragement. It's like, no, you can do this.
Yeah,
you can do this. And I think you're right. It hit Windows in February 2017, hit Switch June of 2018.
Yeah,
hitting that second year of Switch definitely gave it a boost.
Yeah.
Just because I think it was still early on that people were like, that first year trained people on indies for the Switch, and then you have this thing, and it's just like, oh, this is so Nintendo coded in a way as far as design.
Yeah. It's also got a lot of Dark Souls in there. The bosses are very Dark Soulsy, not just in the font that comes up, but also the music and the challenge, because you can. It takes a couple of hits to get to die. And then if you want to heal yourself, you've got to stop and actively heal. So you've really got to memorize their patterns. In Metroid, you can take a lot of hits. It's quite forgiving in its combat. So you really have to master them. And if you die, you've got to make your way back, get your soul, much like in Dark Souls. So it married like the legacy of Metroid's design with something more modern like Dark Souls, and it did extremely, extremely well.
Yeah. And it really captures in 2D that Bloodborne element of you need to be aggressive if you want to heal.
Exactly.
You need to get those hits in, and it's that balance of I need to dodge this, but also I need to hit them so I can actually heal after being hit by them, and then got to find the right time to heal. It's a lot of balancing acts, but when it clicks for you, it just truly does click and just feels like something. It feels special at the time.
Yeah, it's one of the greats. And Silksong's huge. So is the original. The original is massive.
It got four free sets of DLC.
Yeah.
That's
lots
incredible.
of areas you never need to visit. Like you can, if you know the critical path, you can just beeline it. There's areas you never need to go, and they feel just as high quality as the ones you do need to go to.
Yeah. So, and the other crazy thing is, this is outsold, I think, every single Metroid and Castlevania game.
By quite a lot. By quite a lot.
15 million as of 15 million. I forget exactly when that was, but 15 million sales. There's a reason they were able to take their time on Silksong.
Yeah, the best-selling Metroid is like 3.5 million.
Yeah, like Dread was a huge hit for Metroid. Hollow Knight blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
So crazy stuff there. But hey, John, we've done it. We've reached the top 10.
Ooh.
And I'm going to have to go through these a little bit quicker because I'm personally running out of time.
Yeah, 15 games down, 10 more to go. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Time to hit number 10, beating out Hollow Knight by 47 points-ish.
Okay, what letter?
It begins with the letter C.
C. Okay, I will go with... Is it too early to say Chrono Trigger? Guess I am. Chrono Trigger.
All right. At number 10, Chrono Trigger.
Well, okay.
There you go. You've gotten a lot of right answers this time around, John. They're much better than the top 50.
It's hard to predict. I don't know when it's too early to say things. Chrono Trigger used to be like a number one, much like Super Metroid was, but I think things have shifted.
Yep. And before we give our thoughts, we do have another special guest to explain why Chrono Trigger deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time. Like, not something that needs to be discussed.
The Super Nintendo had so many incredible games on it, so many strong JRPGs, and it's very telling that out of the two SNES games that made the top 25, Chrono Trigger is the representation for the JRPGs. This game was incredible. My kid mind was blown when it came out, and still I go back and play this to this day. It had the Dream Team attached to it, which seems a little less common now because there's always crazy crossovers nowadays, but having the creator of Dragon Quest, the creator of Final Fantasy, and the creator of Dragon Ball all working together on one game was amazing. It handled the story of time travel shockingly well, doing like effects like having things you do in the past actually affect the future. And like even with like special items, rare items, if you make a bad decision, you're kind of screwed over. Sometimes you can redo them. There's some actual minigames with actual kind of deep consequences too. Like I just think of like Luca's family is just such a like heart-wrenching scene, especially if you mess it up. And you only get one chance at that one too. That one's a mean one. It handles different time eras so well. You get representation from basically every era that they put the game in. Everyone handles like somewhat differently. Everyone feels unique. There's so many different party builds you can do. Everyone works together with like double and triple text to help you actually just kind of customize how you play the game in a really clever way. It's sort of simple, and it, like nowadays things it does are pretty common. Like it's one of the few games from the era that lets you actually see the enemies where you are, and you can avoid them if you don't want to get in a fight. You can swap characters on the fly whenever you want. You can just get your ass handed to you if you want. You can just go fight the final boss right out of the gate if you know what you're doing. You probably don't. But it was just so cool. I would rent this game all the time as a kid. And it was one of the rare cases where when I beat it, I still kept renting it because there was a New Game Plus. And in the New Game Plus, you would get different endings. You could do like I said, you could fight the boss right at the very beginning of the game. And if you pull it off, you got a secret ending just of all the devs. You could just like get weird, silly messages from them. You could get endings that just completely messed with the timeline. Let the dinosaurs take over. You can just have, other things happen to other characters that I'm trying not to spoil. I really recommend this game. Like, it's not that long. It's like a solid length for a JRPG. I mean, Super Nintendo ones weren't usually super long, but they were always worth it if they were done well. And I would argue Chrono Trigger, absolutely one of them. If you've never played it, there's so many ways to do it now. There's a DS, it's on Steam, it's on mobile. Depending on which version you want to play, like you'll find different quality, stuff like that. Don't judge it based on the stuff that tries to tie it to Cross. That was a little ham-fisted in my opinion, but maybe that's controversial. I don't know. But I think this guy stands on its own. Also, Cross isn't that bad. Cut that part out.
So yeah, Chrono Trigger hitting the top 10. Honestly, considering where a lot of other favorites have hit, it's impressive that it still managed to get that top 10 slot.
10 is still really, really good, yeah. This is the most talented people in the world all coming together to make a passion project. You know, you're marrying Dragon Quest with Final Fantasy. You're getting just the most amazing art. It's all wonderful. What can you say about Chrono Trigger? It's so well paced. The characters are fantastic. It's always taking you somewhere new. There's never any downtime or buffer. And you've got this incredible combat system where the people in your party are interacting together and are benefiting from each other. You've got such an interesting story with all the time travel. People can summarize it better than I can. I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's so many elements. Like it's so unique to have an idea of a shorter RPG that's just massively replayable thanks to the New Game Plus.
Yeah.
And then actively wanted to seek out all those endings. And, you know, incredibly, Square has not re-released this on modern consoles. But fortunately, there is that PC version, which started out rough, but it is much, much better now, where you can definitely enjoy that. And so many people discovered it through the DS. It shows up just enough that people remember it, even though I don't know if it's been the highest selling things. Obviously, this was released before RPGs truly took off in the West, but still, it's just so regarded. And you got the timeless artwork of Toriyama. You got just the fantastic story from Sugiyama. People at the top of their game putting out the top of the game.
It is interesting. You brought up a good point there. I don't think this game sold that much. So it didn't release in Europe originally. The DS was the first one. And it's never had a great time. This is quite a late Super Nintendo game. And you consider all those elements, I think getting number 10 is pretty impressive considering how few people have probably actually experienced it. Mm-hmm. But it's made such an impression on those that have.
So it was the second best-selling game of 1995 in Japan.
Yeah.
But the various incarnations of the game have only shipped 5 million copies worldwide.
Right, and that's combining
everything.
Super Nintendo, PlayStation, DS, Virtual Console, PC. A game this good across that many platforms should have sold way more.
Yeah, it feels so wrong. But again, some of the best people in their field. Like this was the last game Tetsuya Takahashi worked on before moving on to the Xenogears and Xeno series. This was him. He was the graphic director of Chrono Trigger. That's why it looks so good. He also did Final Fantasy VI. Like these guys. It is the best of the best of the best in the RPG market. I said Sugiyama. I meant Yuji Horii. I'm so done. I'm definitely going to get that. Sugiyama's the composer. Duh. He had no part in this. That was instead Mitsuda.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just a classic. If you haven't played it, give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's continue on to our number 9, our ninth greatest game of all time. Beating out Chrono Trigger by 28 points.
Okay, what letter have we got now?
Well, this is going to be an easy one for you, John. It begins with the letter X.
X, all right. So I'm guessing this is Xenoblade Chronicles 1.
At number 9, Xenoblade Chronicles 1.
There were still options. There were still Xenogears and X-Men.
X-Men, yeah, true. But I had a feeling they weren't going to make the top 10. But yeah, before we give our thoughts, we do have another special guest to explain why Xenoblade Chronicles deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Xenoblade Chronicles has a fantastic story and incredible main cast of characters. The depth of each character easily made them one of my favorite party of characters in any RPG. Shulk, Fiora, Melia, Dunban, even the growth that Ryan and Charlotte go through, and the misdirection of Ricky, who really shapes up to be more than just comic relief. The vocal performance of the characters, too, can't be understated. Adam Howden's Shulk and his screams? Oh my god. They're chilling. While I wouldn't say every single vocal performance is this big award-winning performance, I do think they were really, really strong. And there's another moment that really stands out to me from late in the game, and I don't want to spoil it if people haven't played, but there's a really fantastic moment near the end of the game between Melia and Ricky, and there's just something about the presentation and the vocal performance of that scene that really got me. And you may find that strange with Ricky's silly comic relief voice, but it just worked very well. Shulk is also such a compelling protagonist, and his story arc remains one of my favorites in any game. The world of the Bionis and Mechonis is incredibly fascinating to me, and the way the story plays out and involves both of them left me speechless on my first playthrough. Also, the music is just breathtaking, and the fact that they got this game to run on the Wii will always fascinate me. While it may not have looked the best back then, there was still something breathtaking about running through Gower Plains for the first time. These huge, expansive areas running on the Wii. It felt unheard of, and it really made the game stand out in really different ways. Sure, nowadays that may not feel quite as remarkable, but back then, this was unheard of. While the series has grown into something much bigger in the past, 15 years since this game, it all started with Shulk's original adventure right here. Xenoblade Chronicles is very much the kind of game that you never really would have expected from Nintendo, especially back at that point, and nowadays, it still kind of feels that way, honestly. There's just something incredibly unique about it compared to most other games in Nintendo's arsenal. And that's why it's one of the greatest games of all time.
What a magical game.
Yeah.
The fact that we had to fight for it. Well, my
You did.
my side of the pond had to fight for it.
Yeah, we
Yours
just
got it right away. But thank God for your... Honestly, the way it worked out is maybe the best thing that could have happened for Xenoblade. Because I think having that British dub gave it such a unique flavor compared to what it would have had otherwise in the States.
It changed the entire dubbing field, especially now. It didn't immediately, but before Xenoblade, the only RPGs that had British dubbing was Dragon Quest, and that was only Dragon Quest 8 at that point. Now you get Metaphor, you get other Dragon Quest games like 1 and 2 and Monsters. It's a lot of dubbing is done in the UK now. And I think it's because it's a weirdly cool mix. Because usually Japanese games have that sort of anime flair to them when they're dubbed. Xenoblade just played it straight. It's just straight. These are people, grounded people. And it gave this franchise such a distinct vibe. And then when X went back to the usual dubbing, it didn't feel as unique anymore.
Yeah, which, I mean, it makes sense because you're not going to have British people for New LA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, but I like that it gives it its own unique flavor. And they went for definite star quality as far as dub actors at the time. But you didn't have these new talents that you discover in this, like what you did with Xenoblade Chronicles and see how they go on. And the fact that, Melia's voice actress went on to become a Doctor Who companion.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Daddy Pig is in this game. Daddy Pig is he's one of the, what are they called? One of the big blue people. I'm
blanking, but either way,
blanking on the name too.
Crazy.
But if you Google Daddy Pig Xenoblade, you'll find him in there.
That's amazing. Yeah, again, getting that range going on for there, it really does make something special. And the reason we're focusing in on that is because, we've spoken before. The gameplay of Xenoblade Chronicles, brilliant. The world of Xenoblade Chronicles, brilliant. The story of Xenoblade Chronicles, brilliant. It is just all cylinders firing. There's a reason this is the game that sort of stood out the most of Project Rainfall.
Yeah.
Or Operation Rainfall.
Yeah. And we have said it time and time again, but the world, especially compared to 3, like 3 feels a little bit disjointed, and I think it's because it's meant to be things crashing together. But this one is so special because you can look up. Like if you're down on the knee and look up, you're going to see the sword, you're going to see the elbow, and they're all places you're going to visit. It's so well done, and it was done on the Wii. Whereas Xbox 360 and PS3, they were barely doing RPGs that had connected worlds at all. Like RPGs at that time were very much
Final Fantasy 13 did not have a single town.
No, towns were a big rarity in RPGs. There were very few doing them, and Xenoblade made the most connected world I think we'd ever really seen. And it was just so. It had one of the coolest stories, some of the best characters, and just felt like this lost little gem that a small crowd knew, and now it's exploded into a pretty established Nintendo property.
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's still not like amazing, like you're not getting pushing 15 million or anything like that. No. But for RPGs, my God,
yeah,
it's impressive. So yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 1 at number 9. Let's move on to our number 8, our 8th greatest game of all time, beating out Xenoblade Chronicles by 51 points. And it begins with the letter U.
U. Okay. Not that many U's. Undertale. It's going to be Undertale.
I was like, do we have any other U's? We do.
We do. We have basically all the Uncharted's, and Uncharted 2 is very good, but I think this is Undertale.
Yeah. At number 8, Undertale. Of course it was going to be Undertale. I'd be shocked if Undertale did not make it into the top 10, so... before we give our thoughts, though, we do have a special guest to explain why Undertale deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Undertale. It's one of the best games of all time and also one of my personal favorites. One of the biggest reasons why it's the best is because of how the game treats your choices. Every battle is a moral choice disguised as a turn-based fight. So unlike traditional RPGs, nobody has to die, and you can finish the game without having any battle experience. Instead of attacking enemies and bosses, you can get through them peacefully, you can spare them if you want to, and the characters remember if you were kind or a brutal killer. And the true pacifist ending only appears if you refuse to harm anyone and build friendships with patience instead of brute force. And Undertale has some of the best characters in gaming of all time. Obviously, everyone knows Sans. I love Papyrus. He tries to capture you so that he can join the Royal Guard, but he's so excited to even see a human that you just end up rooting for him anyway. And the writing is just so hilarious. All of the dialogue is so clever at every single moment. It's like A+ rating, seriously. And then there's the music, which Undertale is personally my favorite soundtrack of all time. Obviously, Megalovania gets the most love and attention. It's so memed upon. But some tracks like Snowden Town and Hopes and Dreams, those are some of like the all-time best ones. Toby Fox uses so many recurring motifs in his music, and it just hits emotionally at all the right times. Probably my favorite thing about Undertale is how it's programmed in a way that I had never seen in games before. Like the first time I was playing it, I killed the main character at first, but then I decided to restart the game and change the outcome, and I'm like, okay, all clear. But the game knew that I did that. The dialogue in the opening sequence actually changed, and it was different, and it called me out on my actions. And that was the moment I knew that this game was really special. On a personal note, Undertale, it became so important to me that I named my cat Frisk after one of the characters. Undertale's just so creative, so surprising, so funny. It rewards kindness and acting peacefully, which I think we really need more of that in this world. And just all of that combined is why I think so many people still talk about Undertale years later. It's been 10 years since it released, and it really is just something special. So that's why Undertale is one of the greatest games of all time.
How did you discover Undertale, John?
People wouldn't shut up about it.
I think that's what it was for everybody. Yeah. It's just like the people who played it were like, oh my God, this is amazing. You have to play it.
Yeah. You just saw Sans Undertale everywhere. I don't know what Sans Undertale is. See, I think after a bit of reluctance, I gave it a go. It was so far spread everywhere that I kind of avoided it for a while. Until one day I thought, okay, let's just try this. It can't be as good as people say it is, and lo and behold, it's incredibly good. It's really funny. It's really artistically well told, and the humor is more than just dialogue. There's lots of environmental humor and gameplay humor in there, and the actual combat's fantastic. Like, it turns out almost into a shmup where you just avoid things if that's how you want to play. But there's other ways you can play. It's just really, really great.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, how do I put this? It's not try hard. Like, this feels like dialogue that could easily be try hard or trite or just like, oh, okay, we'll see. It doesn't strike that balance. But there's something about the way Toby Fox writes all his characters, both in Undertale and Deltarune, that it doesn't feel unnatural, I guess is the best way to put it. It feels so like, these are the characters. We're going to play with your expectations in its own unique ways, in various ways. And you never quite know. Like, I don't know. It's a weird thing to describe because it's so specific to these games. And I can see other games trying to match that dialogue, but it's so unique to him.
Yeah. Yeah. You can see his influences in there. Like, Earthbound is very clearly in there.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a few other games like that. But it still forms its own identity. Like, it takes these inspirations, bends them a little bit, but in the end, Undertale is Toby Fox. And all those pillars, the music especially, is just incredible. The music's so good that in Japan, you see it in rhythm games a lot of the time. Like, you go to a Japanese rhythm arcade machine, and usually you'll see a bunch of Undertale songs just listed on there alongside all these anime intros. It's bizarre, but it's so far-reaching.
I mean, he's been hired to do music for Pokemon. That is incredible. That's how influential you have to be. And I was looking up, and on Steam alone, it's estimated to sold between 5 and 10 million copies. Yeah. That's just that one console. So yeah, this is a massive sales juggernaut, understandably. And yeah, the fandom is absurdly passionate.
Yeah,
a lot of people wanted me to play it. When I finally did play it, I was did it as part of a stream, but I hid the chat because I didn't want to spoil it, because so many people would come in and want to, it's like, oh, did you see this moment? Did you see this moment? You got to do this. You got to do that. It's in some ways it can be a little oppressive, but when taken in its bubble, like, no, I get it. Like, yeah. You get why it's so beloved.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's impossible to go into it fresh and not know at least some elements of what's going on in it. But I'm sure there was something special for those people who first played it and did not know what was coming in terms of the combat and Flowey and all that.
Yeah, 100%. So
good stuff all around. Yeah, as press play to Jason says, everyone had to cover Megalovania. Spoilers were rampant. It was hard to be on the internet and not hear about it. Yes, It was everywhere. So yeah, let's continue on to our number 7 greatest game, or 7th grade. Can I fix that? Our 7th greatest game of all time, beating out Undertale by 18 points.
Oh, okay. And the letter.
The letter is M. I was sorry. I was doing some counting. I think I messed up the counting. Excuse me. 38 points.
38 points. Okay.
My bad. Oh God, I'm bad at that.
All right, we could have another Metroid here, which is possible. However, I'm going to go with a Metal Gear Solid, and I will go with. Well, have we had a Metal Gear yet? Remind me.
We have not had a Metal Gear yet.
Okay, we'll go Snake Eater then.
All right. At number 7. Minecraft.
Oh. All right, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Of course, before we give our thoughts, we do have another special guest to explain why Minecraft deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Out of every game I have ever played, Minecraft is by far the one I have played the most. If I could put why I love it in the simplest way possible, it would have to be its truly infinite and endless possibilities. At its core, Minecraft is a game about creativity, as it provides so many tools that allow players to build basically anything they want. The game is often compared to Legos, which makes complete sense with how focused each is on constructing whatever someone can imagine. But what makes Minecraft so great is that it is also still a game. My personal favorite way to play is in survival mode with friends. Unlike the creative mode that gives a player infinite resources to build with, survival forces the player to find and gather the blocks from the world itself. While this does make building much more difficult, I also find it to be much more rewarding as well. The process of mining or farming materials for a big project is part of the fun. Oftentimes these resources can be automatically farmed, but to do that, the player needs to construct that farm themselves. So each build that a player wants to do essentially spirals into several more fun projects, especially if that player likes to decorate their farms like I do. Once the materials have been gathered, it's time to actually build, the process of which I find to be very relaxing. Finally being able to step back from a giant mansion, statue, or whatever else knowing that I gathered the resources and designed the build myself is a satisfying feeling that I don't think any other game has been able to capture for me. Then, being able to show that build to friends while also getting to see what they've been doing in the meantime is just as fun as building itself. Seeing other people's builds can give me inspiration on what else to build and how to build it. There are hundreds and hundreds of different blocks in Minecraft, meaning there are essentially infinite ways for these blocks to come together. Looking at other builds or experimenting for myself can help me learn new techniques to constantly improve my work in the game. Despite the thousands of hours I've put into Minecraft, I still don't feel like I'm anywhere near the ceiling of what's possible, which to me is a great thing. There is always something new to learn and fuel my desire to build. But what I think makes Minecraft so popular is the fact that my preferred way to play is far from the only one. While I generally like survival mode the best, many others may prefer creative mode to make their builds immediately without the stress of dying. Many others prefer to play minigames on servers, which can often test the player's skills in combat, parkour, and so on without them needing to build at all. There are also just so many different types of things you can build. I try to jump around to different styles and types of builds to keep my experience fresh. Sometimes I'll be building a simple house, and other times I'll be using the game's redstone to make some sort of complex machine. The ability to endlessly improve my skills and find something new has been fueling my desire to play the game for over 13 years, and I still don't see myself stopping anytime soon. The constant updates certainly help to keep the game fresh as well, but even if Minecraft was never updated again, I think I would keep playing for a very long time.
Yeah, this is no surprise, I feel.
No. Yeah, it caught me off guard, but no, it makes so much sense. This is a generational defining game. My daughter started playing it recently, and it's strange because I've got all these games that I'm very knowledgeable about. I don't know much about Minecraft, and so it's her discovering it for herself. And as a parent, like, you want to be able to help, you want to be able to pass your passions along. Whereas this one, it's really cool seeing her discovering everything. She just loves digging holes, loves flying up into the air. It's just this big sandbox of creativity. You can play it in a bunch of different ways, but it's super cool seeing how a young person just understands it.
Kids gravitated towards it like it's very much like a Lego experience for them. Yeah. I've not introduced it to Kai, my son, yet, but he has seen videos of it, and he just was immediately attracted to its style. Over Thanksgiving, the holiday, he got to see his cousins, and one of his cousins had a creeper plush, and he took to the creeper plush. He wanted the creeper plush. That was something, and trust me, he's not like, if it's video game related, it doesn't necessarily mean he's into it. Yeah. He tends to go for Mario, but the fact that, he's just saw the creeper and like, I like this guy. That's really something. It's the staying power of these character designs. His older cousins were playing around like they were acting out Minecraft scenarios just in general, where they're pretending to be villagers and whatnot and put their arms like this and all that. So
yeah, I think I was probably born at just the wrong moment. Like, you can be an adult who plays Minecraft, but I don't know. I think I was at that point where it just didn't hit me in the childhood part.
Same.
But I've seen people my age and older totally get into it. That's just an excuse, I guess. But I still appreciate everything it does, though. It's just super creative, and the things people can make are absolutely wild.
Yeah, it's so impressive. I mean, Again, Steve got into Smash. It crashed it crashed social media.
Yeah, it did.
So people care about this. So not a surprise to see it on here. Honestly, well deserved. So yeah, Minecraft at number 7. So let's go ahead and move on to our 6th greatest game of all time, beating out Minecraft by 207 points.
I thought these would all be really tightly knit together. That's a big gap.
Yep, and it begins with the.
Oh no, not again. Okay. All right. Are there any thes that might not be Zelda? The Last of Us, maybe. I don't think so though. I think this is another Zelda. I think it's probably Ocarina of Time.
All right. At number 6, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, there it is. Of course, before we give our thoughts, we do have another special guest to explain why Tears of the Kingdom deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was a generational video game. It changed the way we viewed what an open world could be. It changed what we viewed The Legend of Zelda could be. And I think a lot of people were really excited at the prospect of playing through another version of that Hyrule and Tears of the Kingdom. More than 2 years on from release, I've seen a lot of opinions about Tears of the Kingdom, but for me, it still remains as one of the most magical gaming experiences that I've ever had. Revisiting that same Hyrule 6 years after the events of Breath of the Wild was just as magical for me as the original experience of Breath of the Wild. I'd grown so accustomed to the characters and all the villages in Hyrule that I was really excited to see how they changed over the course of that time period. But those changes alone wouldn't have made Tears of the Kingdom. The way you interact with that world is so vastly different from Breath of the Wild. You have Ascend to go through ceilings. You have Ultra Hand, which allows you to take a bunch of parts and smush them all together to create all kinds of different things. Vehicles, weapons, artwork. To this day, you can still find people making videos of their creations on YouTube. The level of freedom that game gives you to approach its world far surpasses Breath of the Wild, for me personally. And I won't spoil it here, but I personally prefer Tears of the Kingdom story over Breath of the Wild, and I still get emotional over the finale today. I love Tears of the Kingdom, it's my favorite Zelda game, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
It's interesting to see Tears of the Kingdom so high up here, I think.
Yeah.
In one sense, in some sense it makes sense, but in another sense it's like, it's the Majora's Mask of Breath of the Wild, even though it's very different from that. It's taking assets and taking some new element, and I think that crafting ability really does help sell Tears of the Kingdom as something unique compared to Breath of the Wild.
It's another one of those games that just doesn't really exist outside of what it is. Like the mechanics at play here, no other game is doing. Like, being able to ascend through anything is crazy. Being able to rewind the trajectory that any item has been on is crazy. Being able to just put anything together and have it formed a machine is crazy. Like, these mechanics are wild, and it's easy to understand how they took so many years to come into play. I've expressed my views on Tears before. I think it's phenomenal, but I also feel like once you finish the story, once you've done all the side quests, I don't really feel the same sense of wonder to explore the world after like I did in Breath of the Wild, because I've explored it already. So Breath of the Wild will always hit harder for me and always have those more tangible memories. But that first playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom was spectacular, and I remember playing it and thinking like, this is one of the best games I've ever played. But upon reflection, it doesn't hold that evergreen reflection in the same way Breath of the Wild does, though, for me.
It doesn't, but I think there's still enough there that it was long enough of a distance that it was exciting to see what changed from Breath of the Wild, and to have the element of, hey, we have the sky above, and hey, we have everything below now. And I think that's why I really found myself enjoying exploring the underground so much, because it was all new and figuring out how to get around it, and some of the crazy enemies you discover there. It really pulled me in. I never, I'm not a great inventor or craftsman, so I went very basic when it came to all the stuff that you could put together in Tears, but it's still fun to do and find ways to make it all happen. I need to finish it because I've heard amazing things about its finale.
Oh, yeah, it's
and
fantastic.
I really do want to see that.
Yeah. I love how all the layers play together, too. Because you'll find treasure maps in the sky showing you where special things are in the depths. And then you go to the depths and find those things. But you also get, materials to make more Zonai things. So all these elements blend together. Like, you want to go into the depths to sort of mine all that equipment to make better stuff. But you're going to be in the depths anyway to be exploring and finding more stuff down there. And then the sky is
just other costumes and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's a nice interplay between all of them.
It is, yeah. And the sky's like, how do I get up there? Like you're down on the land. Sometimes you can just take something that falls down up. Other times you got to make a plane or something. Like it's fantastic interplay.
Yeah, very much so. But we got to continue on because boy, I'm running low on time. I'm so sorry. Let's get to our number 5 greatest game of all time, beating out Tears of the Kingdom by 27 points.
Oh,
like, it is tight.
Okay.
And begins with the letter P.
Back to the dreaded P's. All right, let's go with Persona 5.
At number 5, Persona 5 / Persona 5 Royal.
Least shocking game of all. All right, let's hear what the person has to say, though.
Yep, let's have our special guest explain why Persona 5 deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
What's going on, GVG community? It is I, RogersBase, and I am supremely excited to talk about one of my favorite JRPGs of all time, Persona 5. And do you hear that? Hold on. Real quick. Get here real quick. Listen. That right there? That is the sound of vindication. That is the sound of Persona 5 being the highest ranked Persona game on this list. And I think a lot of the time, especially in 2025, it is easy to forget just how impactful the original Persona 5 was. Again, this was a PS3 game, and I know a lot of people have played it on PS4 and PS5 and Switch and Xbox since, but again, it started life back on the PS3 at a time where Persona was still a very niche franchise. Obviously, compared to some other franchises, it is still relatively niche, but it has way more mainstream success now due to this video game. And this game has inspired quite literally hundreds of other RPGs and JRPGs since. You would not have the stylish menu UI of Expedition 33 if not for Persona 5. You would not have regular re-releases of things like Persona 3 and Persona 4 to great success if not for the success of the original P5 breaking this franchise into the mainstream. Not only does this game have one of my favorite cast of characters of any video game, not only is this game going to create debates for hundreds of years to come about whether or not Queen or Panther or Kasumi is the best girl, not only does this game have one of the single best soundtracks of all time, period, but it's just solid. It is such a good, engaging RPG with a great story, with relatable themes, and again, I think it really will stand the test of time. This is a game that I know a lot of people are probably sick of at this point. It seems like we're getting a spin-off game every other year with Tactica and the mobile game, but again, it is for good reason. The cast, the characters, the music, the story, the themes of Persona 5 transcend time. This is hands down one of the best JRPGs of all time, period. I won't hear it any other way. And I really do feel like Persona 5 Royal is the poster child for a game that has bang for your buck. There is so much content in this game. Even on like a casual playthrough, your first time around, you're probably gonna get like 100 to 120 hours out of it. And the thing is, nowadays, a lot of games wear their playtime as a badge of honor, right? Like, look at how much time you could spend in the world, and the game ends up being boring, and you're exploring this open world, or you're playing through this RPG, and the characters aren't interesting, and the music's not all that good. Every minute of Persona 5 Royal is fun and interesting. There's always cool things to do. The game has a great sense of humor while also still being heart-wrenching at times. It's just the perfect game. Again, I think anybody who likes JRPGs, who wants a good time, is going to find it in Persona 5 Royal. So, once again, good job to the Good Vibes gaming community for voting this as one of the greatest games of all time. You're looking cool.
I mean, we had to see this coming. This game performs so well. Yeah. Every time it had the option. Persona 5 was up there. Like, it is... I saw somebody earlier in our live audience compare it to Final Fantasy VII. Like, Final Fantasy VII was the JRPG that was just that game for normies. Like you don't play RPGs, but you play this game. And between its very fun combat system, its amazing style, really fun characters, storyline that kind of hits as far as what you're setting out to do as far as dealing with powerful people and social injustices. I think it helps stand up to the test of time and really stand out as something special.
Mm-hmm. The story really does tie everything together too. Like previous Persona games have really good stories, but this one, you're playing in the shadows a lot more, and the way that your real life and like the Phantom Thief life work together, I think it's more effective than other Persona games because you have actual consequences between the two. Like you have to be the one delivering the calling card. You've got to be actually involved in these people's lives, and there's always that risk of being found as well, which is a big part of the game because you're found from the beginning. So it's like when are we going to slip up, and how do we slip up, and how do we stay undiscovered? It's a really cool dynamic.
And it's such a good idea. Like Persona 4 introduced the glasses to sort of change up how the visual element of how the characters look while in another world. But to go for a full costume, like it just made it cool. You wanted to see what the next character's design was going to look like. There's an inherent desire, and it enhanced all the Persona Awakenings. It was just I don't know. It's just there's just something that really pulls you in about Persona 5, and I think that's why everybody's excited for 6. What do they do from here?
It's been a big gap. They just churned out Persona on PlayStation 2, like Persona 3 and Persona 4, pretty close together. Persona 5 took a while, but Persona 6 is it's been what 8 years,
something like that. It's been a while, so we'll see what happens there. But Persona 5 at number 5. Boy, it's funny how much often that's working out. All right, let's get to our 4th greatest game of all time, beating out Persona 5 by approximately 150 points.
And what's the letter?
S.
S. All right. Another super. All right. We had Galaxy 2. I don't know if Galaxy. Let's go Super Mario Galaxy then.
All right, at number 4. Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Oh, I guess I'm a bit surprised, but no, I'm not disappointed though.
Yep. Yeah. Smash Brothers Ultimate made it in and put in a pretty solid showing. It was always kind of in the top 10 as I was checking in on it. It was just I mean, how can you not? This is the game that is. This is Game the Game, but before we give our thoughts, we do have another special guest to explain why Smash Ultimate deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is easily one of the best video games ever. It's one of Nintendo's best games, it's one of the best fighting games ever, and it is hands down the best crossover anything ever. And it's not just because there are tons of characters in there. Anybody with a big enough wallet can buy up a bunch of different characters and put them all in their game. That doesn't make it a good crossover. It's a good crossover because the moment you start playing it, you can tell the people that made that game genuinely cared about every single character that they put into that game. There are so many little animations and their movesets that just feel perfect for them. When you go through the World of Light mode, everybody was complaining when that mode got added because, we don't get the trophies anymore. We only get these little PNG sticker things in there. And I'll admit, I was kind of bummed about that. But then when you're going through World of Light and then you get a fight with one of those spirits, you see how they use the in-game assets to be able to build a custom fight that is dedicated to that specific character. And it is stunning the amount of work that they put into paying tribute to even the most obscure characters in there. And then you get into the single player arcade ladder mode in there, where every single character didn't just go through your standard arcade mode. Maybe there's like a little special ending screen that you get with each of them, like you get in some of the previous Smash games. Every single arcade ladder for every single one of those characters, and again, this is a massive roster, is custom made for that character to be a tribute to that character. When you're playing Luigi, you end up going up against scary monsters to be a tribute to the fact that he is a coward, and that's the running joke with him. When you play as Terry Bogard, you're going up against 3-person teams. Every single team following a theme, by the way. They didn't just get random 3 characters and put them together. No, every single team is 3 characters built around a theme like it's King of Fighters. Or my personal favorite, when you're playing as Joker, all the characters you're fighting are shadowy, darker characters. And it's like, okay, that's a tribute to the fact that he fights shadows in his game. But then in the next fight, the character you just beat is now there fighting alongside you. It's like, oh my god, you recruited the shadows as your personas. How did you make this work? I have heard many people make the joke that Smash Bros. Is no longer just the Nintendo crossover game. It is now video games, the game. And I have to come back around to this. That's not just because they got a bunch of characters in there. No, it's because every single character feels like it was made by people who love video games and wanted to make sure that this was the biggest possible tribute to this entire medium that they could possibly pull off. But you know something? It's not just the game itself that makes Smash Bros. Special. Think about the fact that for years, literally for years, every single one of us, we all came together as a group across the entire planet, and we kept watching those Smash Bros. Trailer reveals, and we kept losing our mind together. Think about how that just brought this entire community together. That's the closest we've ever been to world peace, when all of us just came together and we all saw that Sora was going to be in this game. Think about how even if you saw a character that you personally might not have been excited for, the excitement from everyone else was infectious. I have never seen a video game pull that off. I don't know if any other video game will ever be able to pull that off again. Maybe the next Smash Bros. But when I say that Smash Ultimate was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, I mean it.
So yeah, video game the game. Smith the Smash Ultimate, my god.
There are always those memes like, oh, if you go back 20 years and show someone this screen, they'll freak out. Go back 100 years, they're like, well, who are you? But it's true, though. Like you look at what Smash Ultimate is. Look at that character select screen. Look at all the stages. It's crazy. There's so much stuff in that game. Every single character can last you a lifetime. Like, there's so much variety and diversity and matchups and what counters and all these different elements to every character, especially the DLC ones. They tend to have like their own gimmick of some kind.
The way the characters feel like themselves, like it feels like this character transported, like that love and care is amazing. There's so much stuff to do. It is a jam-packed game.
The core mechanics too, like it brings back to the air dodge. You've got parries, like perfect parry shield, so that there's sometimes you can, if someone's attacking you, you can just do a perfect parry and attack them straight back. It's excellent. It's the best Smash.
Easily.
Yeah.
Like, I know people love their Melee, but man, Smash Ultimate is just like, really is just the culmination. Like, it's the perfect name for it.
Yeah.
I really think it comes down to just kind of nitpicks, if anything, that you have issues with it, or like you can understand criticisms, but they end up not mattering because there's so much else.
We always come back to trophy descriptions and things, and yeah, it would be nice, but it's a small blip.
Yeah, very much so. So, not too surprising with our audience for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate to be here, but it's also, man, that is a gateway drug. You find yourself a character, you're like, I want to see where they're from.
Yeah.
It's perfect for that. All right, our top 3. Let's get to it. And our third greatest game of all time beat out Smash Ultimate by 150 points.
Jeez. All right.
Begins with the letter S.
God damn it. All right. Do I want to say Galaxy again? I guess I will. Mario Galaxy.
At number 3, Super Mario Galaxy.
A big gap between this and 2, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. There was a massive gap between this and 2. Because 2 was, I believe... Gosh, I need to look for it. I'll report back once we hear from our special guest on why Mario Galaxy deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Super Mario Galaxy made the top 25 best games of all time list? Oh my god, that's crazy! Next you're gonna tell me the other top 24 best games of all time made the list as well. Mario Galaxy will go down in history as one of Nintendo's greatest accomplishments. It perfectly melds together everything I and many others want in a video game. Gorgeous visuals, an unforgettable soundtrack, incredibly fun gameplay with unique innovations and design elements. The implementation of wonky grout effects alone makes this a special experience, and you add everything else to the mix, and it's easy to see why Galaxy 1 is so beloved. Something I've always said about Mario Galaxy is this feels like it could have been the finale to the Mario series. It's like you can't possibly top it. It looks at everything Mario has accomplished and becomes the ultimate culmination and celebration of the series' legacy, while also pushing it forward in a bold new direction. That direction being my favorite game of all time. No wonder it's my favorite. Now I think in many ways, Mario Galaxy 2 is actually the superior game. I think the level design in this one is actually better across the board. But I still prefer Galaxy 1. Galaxy 2 trims the fat, but the fat is what makes me like Galaxy 1 just a bit more. I'm also completely blinded by nostalgia. Don't take anything I say seriously. So yes, Mario Galaxy 1 is one of the best games of all time. Also, water is wet.
So yeah, Galaxy 2 was at 37 with 1,581 points. Galaxy 1 has 3,861 points. Bit of a gap there.
Huge gap.
There was a conversation we had about whether Galaxy 1 or Galaxy 2 would be considered better, but in the end, Galaxy 1 gets it. I think it's because of just the uniqueness. It's the first time. A lot of people remember the first. Yeah. It stands out more. You get the story elements. It makes sense to me why Galaxy 1 sort of stands out. And based on these numbers, kind of also makes sense why Nintendo decided to make Galaxy their second Mario movie.
Yeah. I mean, you compare it to like Odyssey sales. I think Galaxy sold like 10 million, whereas Odyssey's like 30 million. But despite it not being like the best-selling one, the impact it had was everlasting. Because it's the coolest Mario. Like putting him in space and giving him all these sci-fi, gigantic robots to fight. And compared to Galaxy 2, which I feel does a lot more planets rather than space. Like you go to a lot of blue sky places with like floating wood in the air. Galaxy 1 feels not grounded per se, but it's a lot more sci-fi-ish. You're a lot more among the stars, usually with planetoids, and it feels a bit more epic, I'd say.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And just taking that 3D element, and you still have that sort of feeling of a Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. We have the playgrounds to play in, but it's more focused. And I love that focused platforming challenge that Galaxy offered. And the more focus on story was also appreciated, just to get those elements in there. It's just such a delight that it's still my favorite 3D Mario of all time. Like easily.
Yeah, I love so much of it. I love the moveset. I love long jumping off planetoid and floating around. I was reading the physical Rosalina storybook to my daughter the other day, and I was tearing up doing that. It's so well. The middle especially is so well written.
Yeah, there's a reason Rosalina became a favorite instantaneously. Like they introduced this new character, and bam, everybody's like, yes, her. Yeah. We love her. I don't even know what else to say. It's Galaxy, of course. Yeah. You get it. It's time to get to our top two, and our second greatest game of all time beat out Mario Galaxy by 1,100 points, essentially.
Crazy.
1,100 points.
All right. What's the letter?
The letter is the.
That's Breath of the Wild then, isn't it?
All right. So you're saying Breath of the Wild?
I think so.
At number 2, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time.
Oh, I for some reason I forgot Ocarina. I think we got 2 Zeldas at the top 2 then, but I guess we'll see.
Yep, Ocarina of Time at number 2. So before we give our thoughts, let's have our special guest explain why Ocarina of Time deserves to be considered one of the best games of all time.
Synonymous with adventure and fantasy, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time is an absolute classic. It was the first Zelda game to make the jump into 3D, and it did so amazingly. Ocarina of Time has dungeons galore, each with expertly crafted puzzles that can be challenging, but it's still not too cryptic or confusing. It has a nice mix of classic themes like the forest and fire temples, but it also throws in some curveballs like the Spirit Temple, Jabu Jabu, or Beneath the Well, Ick. The satisfaction and sense of progression through each dungeon is surprisingly smooth and rewarding. Plus, the atmosphere of each area is distinctly unique from each other, allowing each section of the game to shine in its own right. Not to mention the music. God, almost anyone involved in the gaming community can hear any song from Ocarina of Time and be able to pinpoint its origin. The score of the Zelda series has always been a highlight from the very beginning, but Ocarina of Time particularly is filled with iconic melodies that perfectly fits the areas in which they're played. There's just so much about Ocarina of Time that withstands the test of time. And despite being an older game, I can still readily recommend it to people who may have missed out or might have been too young to experience it in its heyday. Its remake on the 3DS was also extremely faithful, with some great quality of life tweaks too, further cementing it as an experience that still holds up today. It's also not too short and not too long. The time spent playing is a comfortable length that doesn't overstay its welcome and allows enough time to play it again and again, sometimes in brand new ways. I'm looking at you, randomizers. I may have some rose-tinted glasses when I look back on Ocarina of Time. It's the game that I grew up with, and it launched me into being a huge nerd. But it just has so much going for it. The course of the story, though trite and a touch dated now, was mind-blowing back in 1998. It took some story beats from its predecessor and fleshed it out to fill its new 3D space. The twists and turns, the dabbling in time travel, feeling the impact of a world on the edge of succumbing to the evil king. This game allowed its story to flourish in a time when it wasn't an expectation at all, and while it was already experimenting with a brand new medium. So, hats off to you, Ocarina of Time. You will always have a solid place in my heart. And I forgive you for making the Zelda timeline TM an absolute argument-provoking disaster.
So it's rather interesting to go into this because, memorably, for the Nintendo 64 list, Mario 64 beat Ocarina of Time.
True.
It was a
There's
big surprise for us.
Pretty big gap between them here.
Yeah, when you broaden it out to everything, it's very interesting that Ocarina of Time beat it by so much, where it made the top 10 and Mario 64 only hit top 20.
And I was bewildered when Ocarina didn't win. Not because Mario 64 isn't deserving, it's just Ocarina is so impactful and so great.
I mean, for ages, it was like, no, this is the greatest game of all time.
Yeah. There's no debate about it. Yeah. When transitioning to 3D as well, like I was saying with RPGs, when you tried to do it at big scale, you tended to lose a lot. Like you'd lose towns, you'd lose dungeons, you'd lose some elements because you had to scale it up, and you can't really afford that. Ocarina didn't do that. Like it just took a Link to the Past structure, did it in 3D, changed the perspective, did things like first person for aiming, but everything you loved was there. But it wasn't condensed. It was made bigger. You had more elaborate dungeons. It was far more puzzle focused. And
they found a way to make the 3D aspect work. They fully took advantage of that 3D space in order to make the dungeons feel more grand rather than just tiles based in a lot of ways.
You had items that wouldn't work in 2D, like the Lens of Truth. Being able to just see invisible walls, you couldn't really do that in 2D. But now that you can fully control where Link is facing and move the camera around, it made sense then.
Yeah, changed up the changed up the battles, changed up the combat. Looking into the development of Ocarina of Time and how they decided on doing so much from like the way the world is structured, to how they handled combat and the Z targeting, to the levels themselves and the items and whatnot. It's fascinating to see how much thought was put into this to make Ocarina of Time work, and it paid off. Like, again, it is generally considered the greatest game of all time, and nothing ever really came close for the longest time.
No, there's always that crowd saying it's overrated. I think go back and play it just with a fresh perspective, and I don't think you'll feel that way.
Yeah, it is showing its age. There's no doubt about it. But when you think about where it came from and what it does and how much it pushed it forward, like we talked about, like Resident Evil 4, I don't think only got number 40, and we talked about how influential it was to how other games handled that perspective. Ocarina of Time is just like, no, this is how you do action games. This is how you do adventure games.
Yeah, it's very grounded too. Like those young Link temples, they're all like real places. Like you go inside a Deku Tree, you go inside Jabu Jabu, and then you've got just these tremendous formed dungeons in the adult world. Like, you're going to play the Shadow Temple and tell me that's not cool? That's so cool.
And then just all the stuff that you can see, all the secrets you can find. It really does feel like an adventure. And it was my first Zelda game. I traded my PS1, not permanently, but just let each other borrow. I gave my PS1 a copy of Final Fantasy VII to a friend who gave me his copy of his N64 and Ocarina of Time, and we both had a wonderful time because we got to experience these other games. And God, just to go through that and find all the secrets, and just, it's a magical time. It's a magical game.
It truly is.
So but it's also interesting to see it struggle against Mario 64, but trounce it in terms of greatest of all time.
Yeah, I'm pleased to see it here, but I thought time wasn't as favorable to Ocarina, because it's rare you see it top out lists anymore. So it's really cool to see it at number 2.
Yeah, still stands out as that. But yeah, it's time to find out what our greatest game of all time is, beating out Ocarina of Time by 2,300 points, essentially.
God damn it.
It was never close. It was always this game.
Yeah.
At number 1, you said Breath of the Wild?
Mm-hmm.
The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Don't even need a letter.
Yeah.
How can you argue it? Let's just go to our special guest to explain why it deserves to be here. But I mean, there's a lot to say about that.
I think we all know where Breath of the Wild is going to end up on this list, just about. So I'm not going to take too much time to espouse what makes this game so wonderful and special, because even in talking about it for just a moment, you've probably already had a dozen flashbacks to those trademark Breath of the Wild moments that only you were able to experience in that unique way to you. You were able to flash back to those water cooler moments where you were able to talk with your friends as if you were on the schoolyard as a kid. You were able to think back to those moments where it brought you that childlike joy that is sometimes hard for us to find as adults as time goes on, as we get, a little more jaded in life, as life kind of beats us down a little. With that in mind, it's actually easy to understate how important Breath of the Wild is as a game to the era of gaming that we're in, to the era of Nintendo that we're in. That might sound silly, but hear me out. We've had such a bounty of riches over the last 9 years of the Nintendo Switch. It's been 9 years. We're old now. Welcome to hell. We've had years where Nintendo has put out 12 first-party bangers over the course of a calendar year, one a month, which was unheard of prior to the Nintendo Switch during that Wii U 3DS era, even during most of the Wii era, if you really look back. Nintendo has never had this consistent level of quality over the course of an entire system's lifespan like they've had this time. And so it's easy to assume that this system was inevitable because we've been so spoiled with riches. What I'm saying is, even as we talk about, again, what might be the number 1 game on this list, I'm going to guess, it's easy to look at that game and still somehow take it a bit for granted. And I want to take this sort of moment to remind us that this game wasn't guaranteed. This system wasn't guaranteed. And that's what makes it a game that I think we find so incredibly special all these years later, is that even if we don't consciously recognize it, we remember that everything was riding on Breath of the Wild. And not only did it deliver, it absolutely killed it to a degree that we may never see again from a launch title. And so we were so incredibly lucky during that time span to be there for it if we were, or if we weren't, you were still lucky to play this game whenever you picked up a Switch. So congratulations to Breath of the Wild. Hopefully I'm not wrong now. Hopefully it's number one, or I'm going to look like a dickhead, but hey, I already do. So cool.
I'm not surprised Breath of the Wild is here.
No.
I mean, from the moment you saw this game and saw what it did and how much it's expanded on the sense of adventure, like, good God.
Yeah. And open worlds are like at a really sterile point when Breath of the Wild came out. Like, we had go around, get a bunch of markers on your map, go where NPCs tell you to go. It didn't feel interactive anymore. It just felt like you were doing what you were told to do. Breath of the Wild was the opposite. Like, you're not doing what you're told to do, you're doing what you want to do. And the world was designed in this really cool way where you've got all these mountains, and when you climb up them, you just see more stuff. You're like, I want to go there, I want to go there. You might see a tower in the distance, or a shrine, or some weird-looking trees where you know they're going to be Koroks. It's so player-controlled. And there are faults. Like, if you're going in from a story perspective, wanting those, handcrafted experiences, you're not really going to get them. They're there, but they're not.
And bosses are only okay, but everything else, just I think it's the moment-to-moment adventure that stands out to people.
Yeah, it's the adventure. Yeah, that's it. Because Zelda had gotten really good at those handcrafted adventures, but it was kind of. It reached what it wanted to do. Like, you can keep doing those 3D Zeldas like Ocarina, but you're not really innovating anymore. Whereas this was like, okay, let's go back to Zelda 1, where you feel lost in a world, and you go the way you want to go, and you find your own adventures, have your own experiences, and the amount of chemistry in there too is ridiculous. Like the way that things mix together, the way that grass catches fire, makes a wind blow up in the air. The way that you can throw a sword into an Octorok and it will clean it. The way that all these elements mixed together, it just felt like you're constantly discovering things years after it came out. Like the layers there were ridiculous.
Yeah, it's I can't even. It's hard even to describe. It's just it makes sense to me. Like, yes, this is the game. And like to take the concept, to take that initial idea, that transplant that feeling of the original Legend of Zelda, where you just dropped into this world and you get to explore and discover, and to translate that to a modern 3D open world game is nothing short of incredible. Like, how do you do that on consoles that are far less powerful than its contemporaries, like Wii U and Switch? And it's of course been optimized quite a bit thanks to the Switch 2 version, but still, the fact that it worked and was still just as enjoyable as ever really says something. It's I can't argue this, and you might have a personal favorite, but I think this makes sense. I mean, I didn't put it in my personal top 10, but doesn't mean I can't appreciate it.
I think this was my number one, if I remember correctly.
I think you did put it as your number one. So, yeah.
It is just wonderful, though. Like, even the lesser elements, like the story, I think they're more of a tutorial. It's more like your first walk around the world. It's like this takes you to the Goron City, this takes you to the Gerudo Desert. It's fine from a gameplay standpoint, but it's the training wheels. It's like, hey, why don't you go here? There's some stuff to see here, and then you play it all, and it's just up to you from that point. Up to you to do the side quests and find the Koroks and do the shrines. And it's not like you're meant to do everything either. Like, there's a lot of Koroks there. There's a lot of repeated content. It's just to catch your eye.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to get everything you can, but it's not really the point.
No. It's hard to think about that, but yeah, you're not meant to get every Korok. It's just enough there that you can get all the upgrades that you want from that.
Yeah, because the upgrades stop after a while. Yeah. The upgrades stop at like 600 Koroks or something like that.
Maybe even earlier. Like, I found enough that I got all the upgrades I needed, so I was not worried. So it's just that good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There we have it. Our greatest games of all time, our top 25. Not just our opinions, not just our thoughts on it, but also all of our special guests. Thank you to all of them for showing up for this, and thanks to all of you for joining us for this wild journey through the greatest games of all time on various systems, as far as indies, as various years, all the different ways that we did this, and of course to our final 50. There are a lot of stats left that I could go over because, for example, just to put it out there, the top 50, despite the strong showing that he showed throughout the entirety of this this whole process, top 50 did not contain a single Sonic game.
Yeah. I guessed Adventure and Sonic 3 in this. Neither of them came up.
Yep. So Metal Gear Solid did not make it as well. So I don't know if, we'll ask about the general interest in that, but potentially we can come back and just sort of talk about the stats and give the 51 to 100 as well, just as a more casual thing. Rather than anything sitting down or anything like that. Not going crazy like we did here. It's just sort of like a post-show analysis type thing, talking about all those. That being said, this is ostensibly the end of our top 10s and all the polls and whatnot. At least you'd think, because all of you have loved this so much and have appreciated this series so much, and we've had a good time doing all this, that we're not done. The top 10 of all time, that's done. But top 10 of various other things, there's so many subjects out there that we can cover. So many different things we can talk about. So we're going to take a little, we might be back next week, depending on what you all want, to talk about the various stats of the rest of the games that made the top 100 and all various stats. But otherwise, we'll give ourselves a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back with, I believe our first one is going to be the top 10 games of 2025. Start out with that, and then branch out from there to just whatever. And we will allow our patrons to have special thoughts. Like if they have a top 10 they want to think of, we'll consider it. Like one of the thoughts I had was top 10 Mario characters of all time. And see what wins that. So, yep, that is the plan there. So it's not over. We're still here. It's just we're not doing a whole big, massive leading up to one final poll thing. It's just all individualized polls. We're in our Monster of the Week arc or something like that. So episodic arc. So yeah, that is that for our top 25 greatest games of all time. Thank you all so much for listening. Really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to GVG, hitting that like button and ringing that bell. We also have our Patreon at patreon.com/GVGaming with plenty of extra perks, which includes suggestions for our top 10s. So until next time, bye.